turd.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
It's Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm not going to be the best person to give a whole explanation here, but that's...
Booty, booty! Sick, sick! Booty, booty!
Fucking deal with it. What are we really doing?
Yeah, I can agree with that. A zebra in between a tarantula and an elephant.
Has been nothing more than a sham.
Yeah, we didn't play well, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got the job done.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
Oh, sex with the first cousin would indeed be incest. And
lay, lady, lay. Lay across my big brass bed. Remember that song? It's a good one by Bob Dylan. Lay, lady, lay. Great song. All right. Welcome to the Straight Right Card. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday, where all kinds of crazy, wacky things are happening in the world. But we'll do our best to stick to soccer. Our best. The turd in the background says, "Welcome to the Straight Right Card. Paros Rosser is here. No Diego Luna." Who's Paros?
I was just going to say that as well.
Is that a Greek god I don't know of? What the F? It's okay. My wife will make it up to him. Okay, well, he's got his own wife, so I don't think she needs to do that. And I think he just had a kid not that long ago. Yep. So he seems to be pretty active. At least he was 10 months ago. Cat Stevens, father and son. Great song, too. I'd say so. Cat Stevens had some real bangers. Catch Bullet at 4, I believe it's the name of the album. Awesome album. Like every song on the album is really good. Every single one. All right, what do we have? I did mention last show that both the Bradleys got relegated at Steibach. And I know people are making fun of that, but, Bob did take over the team when it was in free fall. So he cannot be blamed for not being able to save them. He had a lot of way to go to save them. No Dietz is because Dietz is injured.
I brought this up for that reason alone because we'll talk about Trusty later. But yeah, there was a lot of talk about as far as why wasn't Dietz included? Why wasn't Dietz included? Well, he picked up an injury the last 2 games of the season or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably why.
Fumar is correct. Cats in the Cradle. That's not the song I thought he was talking about, but that is not a Cat Stevens song. That's a Jim Croce song, I believe. Jim Croce. My brain's not on full, so I might get that wrong. But I did notice the Libertarian Party didn't elect a Libertarian for the presidential nominee. That was interesting. I don't know how that happens. Indy 500 winner Joseph Newgarden, I want to give him a shout out for winning his second Indy 500 in a row on Sunday. My personal favorite driver. It wasn't Croce? Well, who is it? Harry Chapin. God, that is so right. Thank you. Thank you, Lou. And then they need to just end Monaco at F1. Like, it's a really thin track, and most parts of the track, only one car can fit on the track at once. It ends up just being a train of cars going around the track 70 what odd times. In fact, the top 10 at Monaco finished exactly how they qualified, 1 through 10. That's boring. In fact, my dad and I fast forward through the whole race all the way to the end because we couldn't stand it anymore. We're like, can't stand this. It is so boring. And I was thinking, this is one time Brett's right. Formula One is boring. Jared Dubois is not coming on. So Jared and I had this talk back and forth. Here's his problem. On Thursdays, they do their show the same time we do our show. Okay? That's not going to work. And on Mondays, he plays soccer in a soccer league, at least right now. He said maybe later, once soccer season's over, I can do it. So we'll talk about that. He wasn't really, he was a little reluctant to do 2 hours. I can understand that. and he was humble about it. He said, "There's nothing I can do to entertain people. I will bore people to tears with 2 hours. I don't have 2 hours worth of material." And
tell him that's the joy of having two other people on the
I
podcast.
said, "Don't worry, dude. We'll carry you. It's not a big deal." So anyhow, we might end up
we go.
We might end up doing a tape show if we do it earlier, and then it'll be on the non-live section. Just because our hours with him are so screwed up, you know, it's the same problem we're having with Herc and Seb. It's the same exact problem. We can't have either of them on. Their shows on at the exact same time.
Well, I mean,
shows on.
We haven't necessarily had any form of any contact with them yet, but that would be what we're saying is that's the exact same problem we would experience with them at this point.
I had some people reach out.
Sure.
So that is a problem. Obviously, that's the big problem. So the same would be for them. If we were to do it, we'd have to do it like a tape show on Wednesday, right? Or a live show on Wednesday or something like that, which would throw everything off. Although we just did it this week. We
could do a live show if we wanted to.
We just have to switch days.
I almost think at this point, until Jared can join us and everything like that, maybe after soccer season, like you said, do a recorded scene, and then we can actually start boosting our algorithm a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, tape shows help with the algorithm, but our non-live shows don't do that well because people don't know that those shows exist, or our live segments or non-live segments that we put up.
So, and there's a part of me that's still going to that. Most of our non-live shows have been clips from our live show, which don't get me wrong, those clips need to be out there because it's either a good segment or we had a good interaction with someone. I really enjoyed the Tony Miola throwback one.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great conversation, but man, did it get fucked.
Nobody cared.
It was a good combo, but nobody cared. Yeah, but I think all of our non-live stuff that's legit recorded and posted does well.
Yeah,
it's just because the 800 plus diehards who make sure that they watch all of our stuff watch it, and then we pick up some stragglers to get us over 1,000 and so forth right now.
Okay, well, I guess I thought it was more than 800, but I'll live with whatever.
No, I'm saying 800 diehards.
Oh, diehards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. It's a fair comment. Because by the time I go to bed, usually it's already at 800.
Yeah.
Then I wake up in the morning and it's 1,400.
Yep.
And some of the show, here's the crazy thing: our show with Pete is like 1,000 something ahead of both our show with Ronaldo and Lalas. So that show, I texted Pete. I said, "Can you believe these numbers that we get? You're beating out Lalas on this show." And I said, "What does that speak to? Who people want to hear right now, who people they trust are?" I think that's kind of what it says, I think, which is not a good indicator for the mainstream guys, even though Ronaldo's a black sheep. He's no mainstream guy. He was at one point. The other thing that I found really interesting, and I don't know if you got this, I thought I sent it to you, but Fox put out the lineup.
I got it pulled up.
Okay.
We'll talk about it in just a few clips here.
Wow, somebody is really missing on that lineup. Is that an accident?
Couldn't have just alluded to it. I've had a little thicker there, Derek. Who do you think it is, Derek? We just got done talking about Lalas and Ronaldo. Like, somebody at Fox, not included.
The guy posting politics up 24/7 on his X page.
It's Fox. That's not going to be an issue. I'd be curious to see. I'd be curious to ask him, find out what it is, why he's not included on that broadcasting team. I imagine maybe he is in studio, and maybe the actual in studio broadcasting team is not included there. I don't know. Who usually seconds him in the studio? Who's the consistent second?
I thought it was always no. Stu's on the field.
Stu's on the field. He does the color.
Kobe Jones.
Jones is not a regular as far as I can recall.
No,
because you usually have somebody like Strong or somebody that runs the show, and then they ask a Lalas and whoever else is there.
Donovan was there once. I know that.
He's included too, man. That's gonna be tons of joy and fun. I think
he's calling the games. Donovan.
Is he really?
Yeah, with Ian Dark. He's
Oh,
Ian
I guess-
Dark's.
I guess, I mean,
Ian Dark's play-by-play, and he's color. So there we go. We'll get to that, guys. We will. We don't have a whole lot of fluff today, but go ahead, start it. Let's start the fluff.
yeah. So Kevin tagged us on Twitter yesterday. Said, "Hey, send us that link for some T-shirts. He's traveling Copa, start to finish. Need some swag.
Okay.
Send it to him. He placed an order. Hey, Kevin, make sure that you take many photos. Of your
Yes.
swag.
Definitely take photos with the swag.
Let us know that which games you're going to be at, and we'll try to keep an eye on the audience participation and see if you happen to be a part of it.
Yeah. So if you take a photo of yourself wearing it, especially if you're at a game, we'll post it. We did it once before or twice. I don't remember. But yeah, very cool. So if you don't know that we have shirts, T-shirts, and of course, Tack wears his Beavis and Butthead version of the Straight Red Car Show on his show, once a month, probably. So,
Yeah.
he just wore it the other week. It's good shit. It's high quality. I know it sounds a little expensive. I think it's like $29, but they are high quality. I've watched this thing, I don't know, 50 times so far, maybe 100. I don't know. And it
fluffy.
has not faded at all. So very cool. All right. What else we got, Brett?
I was just canceling to talk about something there, but yeah. Here we go. It's getting real, Derek. Shit's getting real.
Wonder what Derek's thoughts would be.
It's a lovely couple, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, if you would have told me they're the same age, I wouldn't have doubted it. Because just by pictures, they look relatively the same age.
I think she looks slightly older, but
Slightly.
not in a bad way by any means.
I mean, she doesn't look old enough to be his mom. Let's put it that way.
That outfit doesn't that it looks a little old fashioned, kind of a wedding dress.
I mean, it's going to be awkward for the dad, right?
Yeah.
Influencer 35 marries her 20-year-old stepson after divorcing his dad. I had to read that 3 times just so it made sense in my brain. So you're basically going to fuck the chick your dad's been fucking. Sounds, I don't know if I could do that. My dad's dick's been in this. I'm not probably going to be in that.
It's really strange.
You find it strange too?
That's really strange. Yes.
It's not just me. Okay.
No. Yeah. No. I mean, I personally, obviously, just like all the other stepsister topics we have, technically speaking, not legally wrong by any means, guys.
But it is gross.
I'm just going to say to the point you made, because it's not like most likely she probably wasn't married to his father as he was a youth growing up, although he is only 20 years old. Yeah, that is strange in the sense that I would never do that to my dad.
I wouldn't do that to my dad. And also, it's just kind of icky in general. And, how long did she have to groom him? Was she grooming him from like 14 or 12? We don't know the facts.
It's Woody Allen territory. I think it's what you said, actually.
Yes,
right?
it is. It's getting into Woody Allen territory. So while not illegal, it's morally questionable. But I guess if they're in love, there's nothing they can do about it. But if that's the first piece of, pussy you've ever gotten, it's your dad's first wife. Ugh. Yeah, that's just not a good look at all. It's going to make family reunions really awkward.
Maybe the mom had full custody of him because the dad's a deadbeat dad. The best way to stick it to him is to stick it to his old lady.
Well, you know what? There could be a whole backstory here we don't know. Maybe the dad's in jail because he, raped small children. And this is, and so while he was in jail, they hooked up. She got a divorce.
No monetizing this show, dude.
All right. Yeah, I get it. That was an adult theme, I guess. You're right. Yeah. Just screwed the monetization of this show up. You can't say anything ridiculous anymore without getting in trouble. I swear to God.
Right? I mean, why do advertisers really care what they're being advertised on? They're people that want to purchase it. You know, I mean, people who insinuate that the father was a child rapist still likes Coca-Cola, just like somebody who doesn't insinuate it.
Well, listen, here's the crazy thing. Most comedy has a lot of adult themes, right? Yet they still have sponsors. They still have commercials in between. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. But YouTube in particular are such prudes about what goes on. And we don't click, this is for children. We specifically say this is not for children.
Yeah.
On YouTube, not for children. And if you're listening to this show with your kids, you probably need to get the kids out of the room.
Yeah, and even if it goes to the whole limited aspect, I think we should at least be able to guarantee ads from, like, you know, political ads can be there, I guess, because who cares who they're really selling that shit to? What about Manscaped? I mean, Manscaped should always be selling it to limited. That'd be your target audience.
I mean, I don't know why, but condom companies and Vaseline and KY do not seem to do a lot of ads on YouTube. If they did, we should be their first pick. Really, we should.
Yeah.
That and bras and underpants. And dildos.
And all the above. I think YouTube has to branch out. Their ads, the ads that they bring in, the advertising partners are just so limited.
I agree. I mean, there are all kinds of people making interesting things out there that could be sold on through YouTube. Strap-ons.
I mean, could you imagine us talking about soccer and all that stuff, and all of a sudden it cuts over to like the newest vibrator?
I mean, it's not beyond the pale. These days on live TV, the commercials they show that woman, and she's using some, you know, electric shaver to shave her hair, right? Her armpit hair. It's all, they're showing it. And then they show her shaving her pubes that are coming out the outside of her underwear.
It's educational, Derek.
Like, if that's okay, then why isn't, I don't know. All right, we better move on.
Maybe we should start labeling our show as educational. I mean, I think people can learn a lot from us.
It is educational, I guess, in some sense. I guess.
Again, this takes me back to whenever Jackson starts throwing out, my dad's a YouTuber. I'm like, don't you tell people that right now.
Don't you say a damn.
You wait till you're in high school or going into college, and then you can start flashing that around.
Yeah, don't tell your 8-year-old classmates to go watch the Straight Red Card. Bad idea.
My dad's a co-host on the Straight Red Card. Oh, the Straight Red Card, huh?
And Brett's fired. All right, so
get a phone call from the principal. You know, like, your son's flashing around this YouTube channel you're a part of. I'm like, I told that motherfucker
not to do that.
Son of a. Well, we're already breaking away from the fluff and going into soccer fluff here.
Let's do it.
No fluffier fluff
in
soccer fluff than Chicago Fire at this point.
This is embarrassing. I can't believe you're going to play this.
I'm not. No audio is going to be played. We're just gonna run through this this fun bout at Soldier Field at Soldier. This is at home.
I'll provide the audio.
Come on.
Clear it! What are you doing? Clear it! Oh, clear it! Oh, it's clownery. It's clownery.
I can only assume that the team has gotten together and said, "Hey, I respect Klopas. He's a Chicago Fire legend at this point, but he needs to go. He needs to go." So what we're gonna do? We're gonna flub up every single game.
My theory is
this looks done on purpose.
My theory is that Chicago, nobody wants to coach the team. So that's why they're still stuck with Klopas. Nobody else wants to go there.
Now, I think he just has a good relation with the club as a whole, front office, and people like him. and they're like, yeah, we'll give him another chance. Give him another try.
Just because he gives the owners hand jobs once a week doesn't mean he should be coach of the team. That's all I'm telling you. All right, what else we got?
That was our annual show of our annual segment of making fun of Chicago.
Oh, I do love the person, by the way, when they're talking about players that were missing from the Olympic team. Someone put up there Alex Mighton. It's like, has anybody been paying attention to Alex Mighton? Alex Mighton went to
people still know who Alex Mighton is?
Yes. He was sent off from Nottingham Forest on loan to Kortrijk. And he could get no playing time. I think he played 10 times. Half the time was off the bench. Then at mid-break through the mid of the loan, they're like, we don't want him anymore. They sent him back to Forest. Forest then loaned him out to like a League 2 team, Port Vale, in which he played another 10 games. Didn't score, nothing, didn't start all those games either. Alex Mighton is in deep doo-doo. His career is on stall. So we'll see what happens.
You remember, obviously people are questioning why he wasn't included, whatever, in the Olympics or whatever. But do you remember when he first hit the scene? How many people like just exploded all over it? Yeah,
that's a nice way to put it. They exploded.
Keeping it up with the theme of our show, Derek. Come on.
Right. But, it was clear as soon as Nottingham Forest got promoted that he was not going to get any minutes at all. And that's why they loaned him out.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, Alex Mighton, you can hold on to hope if you want. We're not telling you not to. If you can hope for anything you want, I'm totally fine with that.
Boomer is written for Mighton and Sonogo. And, with Sonogo, at least there's still hope because, he's at least going through the youth ranks of clubs, scoring goals. So
I personally root. I root for all of them. I'm still rooting for Soto, even though we make fun of him sometimes on this show. I still root for Conrad. I hope he gets his head on straight and turns things around. I'm rooting for him, but I'm not wasting any energy hoping for it because it's not. It would take a major turnaround. That would
one of those things where I'm like, I'm done rooting for them until they do something at this point.
Oh,
I can't expend the energy. It was basically what you're saying, but
well,
I don't want any U.S. player to fail. Put it that way.
Okay, that's rooting. You're rooting for them. That takes no energy, though. It really takes none. You're just hoping they don't fail. It's sort of
that's the least amount of energy for rooting.
Yes, it's the neutral version of rooting.
Bare minimum.
Neutral. Putting the car in neutral. You're still in the car.
I feel like neutral is occasionally clicking on to see if they scored a goal for whatever. Me not even paying attention to them until they do something is the bare minimum.
You don't have to, because I do all that. That's what I do on this show.
Sucker.
I'm the sucker that goes through all the stats in all the games. So, okay, what else we got here?
Yeah. To that topic we were talking about earlier, here's our Fox staff for the
both
for the Euros and
Copa. So Ian Dark, we love. Donovan's a bit. He's a legend, but he's a buffoon. I'd say the same thing about Stu.
Stu's a little more natural on air, though. Even though it still is on the fence half the time. Donovan is so stick up his bum type of. And then this is what I want to do, and I think there's no hope for McKennie left. That was too animated for Donovan.
Yeah, he's not very animated. He was more on the CBS show.
Somebody surgically removed the stick from his ass?
Kicking it with.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, he's better there. But that's a more laid back, and I'm sure they put a few drinks in him too.
He's around friends, people he's played around, They may not have been great friends, but whatever.
Listen, if you enjoy listening to a high pitched C minor all game long, then you're gonna love Stu. I mean, like somebody that sounds like a little boy, then Stu's your guy. And I'm sure he probably has a really good falsetto, I bet. He doesn't even need to do falsetto, right? He's got a natural falsetto. And he doesn't really bring much insight to the games itself. So, I mean, I don't rate him. I would rather listen to Maurice Adu, frankly, during the game. That would be my pick.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I guess if Donovan's going to be playing color to dark, Stu, I guess, is probably going to be in the
with Stone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, somebody else. But it's Ian Dark.
Give me more Mo, man. I want Mo in there. In all of it, right?
Yeah.
Halftime analyst, he does play-by-play, whatever. I'll take it all with Mo.
The thing with Donovan is he does provide some on-field insight, at least on occasion, and he'll say some really stupid stuff too. And at least that's entertaining. So there you go. I don't know who the lady is. Sorry.
Whoa, Derek. That's sexist.
I don't know who she is. Is sexist? Where are we going in this country? All right. And I'm not a big, as far as legends go, again, Kobe Jones, legend, but very milquetoast. As far as analysis, very milquetoast, very bland, nothing insightful really. And I think that's the problem. The British guy on the right, I just forgot his name. Yeah.
You say you calling him British because of his teeth? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Dude, that's prejudiced.
But he can be grumpy. He could at least be grumpy. And the goddamn, why am I forgetting everybody's name on the left? What is his name? Why am I forgetting his name? He calls all kinds of games. Anyhow, he's rather fun. He's just the play-by-play kind of guy. So rather harmless. The guy missing, and why is he missing? I don't hate Brits. I really don't. Ray Hudson. No, is that Hudson? I think it is Hudson. Okay. I don't know. I mean, often you're listening to these people, you're not looking at them. So matching up their picture with their name is not always easy. So, Derek Ray, we know he's up in the. No, wait a minute. This is Derek Ray because up top is Ian Dark.
Yeah.
Ian Dark. That's Derek Ray. Yes. Okay. Thank you. God damn it. All right. We got it all together. But where is Lalas? Kind of like, where is Waldo, right? Where is Lalas?
I haven't seen a Fox broadcast that hasn't had him
for years
in the analyst, being an analyst. So
yeah,
I'm going to go out on the limb, and I know that you're going to read into this and say maybe that's all the political talk. Maybe they're not including him. I think he's still going to be in the studio.
I do know Derek Ray because he loves German. Okay, don't take my inability to match names with faces as some sort of indictment of me not knowing who they are, because I know who they are.
Yeah, all these white Brits look alike. So
I'm just really bad at putting names to faces. I'm not good at that. I'm really not. All right.
That's the problem, right? It's like when you recognize somebody's face, you're like, oh, I know this guy, but I don't know his name, and I've been told 3 or 4 times already. That's the worst when you're at work and they're like, hey, Brett, or hey, hey, Corbett, and you're like, hey, what's up?
Just keep in mind, most of what I know of Derek Ray is listening to him during the Bundesliga games. That's my experience with Derek Ray, not looking at his face. They took Lalas off because they don't like redheads.
So we're saying that Fox is owned by Disney, so that makes sense. Disney is quickly eradicating all the redheaded characters in all their animated series.
I'll just ask Alexi tomorrow. We'll find out. Why aren't you on here, dude? I think he's back from Germany now. So, because it is weird that he's missing, because he's been on every major broadcast. It's so weird. And now he's just not here all of a sudden. Is it because they've told him to chill out on the political posts and he's not? Because I guarantee you none of the people we just look at make political posts. And maybe they just don't want to associate. And believe me, Lalas gets shit all day from his posts. And actually, I'd almost say he's posting too much on politics lately. But it's his right. He could do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But most people are listening to you for soccer stuff. I don't think they're looking to you for advice on politics. So I think at some point that's going to hurt you. You know, whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't really matter because the country's split in half. Well, kind of. And then there's this other group that's, you know, thinks it's all shit. All right. So there you go. Like it's all big toilet.
He's at Fox Sports. I don't think he's going to go. Jack, I'm assuming you're telling me this because I was scrolling through the comments section. I'm assuming that's what it's in reference to.
I missed it.
Oh, Jack just said, "Watch yourself, Brett."
Okay.
So I think it was because I was scrolling through the comment section to see if anybody would have brought up the talking point that Lalas was not included in that animated picture. It wasn't even an animated picture; it was just a picture.
Okay. So people are wondering, is Lalas? He was a DeSantis guy, I believe, but now now that DeSantis is gone, I think we all know where he's going to go next. We all know.
He's also said he's a Trump guy too, though. So
yeah, he has. It's not a secret.
Not a secret at all. It's broadcasted on Twitter, guys.
Yeah. And listen, I've always said this too. I'm not going to hold that. I'm not holding that against him. Other people do.
Yeah.
If I had to hold that against him, I have to hold my parents. When am I going to disown my parents? You want me to do that? Is that where we're at?
You just broadcasted who you voted for in this last election.
No, it's nobody's business. It's mine. It's a personal goddamn thing. Nobody's business.
Derek, let's bring it back. And let's talk about some fun.
Do not panic. Do not panic. Cap them now. Cap them now.
As always.
Yes, disown your parents, Derek. BMR. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yes.
Family.
Yes.
Blood is thicker than anything else. All right. Santiago Castaneda signs with Paderborn in Bundesliga 2. The 19-year-old played over 2,000 minutes for Duisburg, who were just, by the way, relegated to Regional Liga. Duisburg. Yep, recording 2 goals and 2 assists. I'm not breaking out any loop for this. Not at all.
Let's see. There's 2 goals and 2 assists. Is he a goalkeeper? Because then that'd be fantabulous.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he a center back? Because that makes more sense if you got 2 goals and 2 assists.
Over anybody along the back line, right?
The worst team in 3 Bundesliga.
I guess in fairness, if he was a striker for the worst team in Bundesliga 2 or 3, 2 goals and 2 assists might be a pretty good stat.
Listen, I hope he does great, but he's playing for Paderborn and 2 Bundesliga. They are also fodder for relegation. So I wish him the very best. And I hope he's 19. So he's got some growing to do.
I'll say that's an upgrade, right? That's an upgrade. Yeah. As a 19-year-old, you go from a relegated team that's going down to regional, and you're getting brought up to a team that's likely or could be relegation fodder in Bundesliga 2. Just from 3 to 2 alone is enough to say, well, this is an upgrade.
The good news is someone at Paderborn watched Duisburg last season and said, you know what? That kid's really good. I know that team sucks, but that kid's pretty good. We should sign him.
Yeah.
And boom, they did. So this is good news.
He's a defensive midfielder.
Right. At least no one's calling him a wonder kid. One to keep an eye on as he's flown a little under the radar. I think playing down in 2 Bundesliga generally means you're going to be flying underneath the radar. Green.
He's been flying under the radar because he was in 3 Bundesliga.
Well, no. Right. Okay, that's true. You are right. I mean, people that are in 2 Bundesliga fly under the radar, like Julian Green, Maximilian Dietz, right? Yeah. I'm sure Damian Downs is going to fly under the radar next season because he's going down. All right, what else we got?
We've got this segment right here.
Transfer news. Who's getting mounted on transfer news? Who's getting over on transfer news? Everyone loves that transfer news but me. Whatever.
You know, it never fails when we say Max Dietz. Somebody's got to put Max Dietz nuts on. I think it's always Jack, though.
Isn't it Wunderkind?
Wunderkind.
I'm pretty sure I said Wunderkind. No, you said
Wunderkind.
Wonderkid.
Wunderkind. Transfer news. Premier League side Arsenal, Aston Villa, West Ham United are ogling Rokas Pukstas and pretending he's naked. Pretending he's naked while they're doing it, are expecting offers this summer, with Pukstas keen to take the next step up in his career. Well,
he needs out of Croatia for certain, but
okay.
I don't know. I feel like Arsenal's pushing it there.
Jesus, I really wish he just wouldn't go to the Premier League. If he goes to Arsenal, he's just going to get loaned out. Aston Villa, same thing.
Maybe.
West Ham, I don't think he's playing for any of those teams next season.
I don't. Well, if he gets signed, I don't think he's coming in as a guaranteed starter initially, but he'll be fighting for it. I think, given the limited time that I've actually seen him play, I think his style of play fits the Premier League well enough. I don't think he's going to be, that move and that adaptation period. I don't think it's going to be as drastic, but I definitely don't want to see him at Arsenal because you're right. He will get loaned out.
He's not starting for any of these teams. I'm just saying he's not even fighting for one. He's not even fighting for it. I'm just telling you that's not happening. I like the kid, but he's still too young. He's going to be totally wet behind the ears when he gets there. He's going to be in for shock therapy once he gets on that field. I'd rather see him go to Holland for a few years. Go to the Bundesliga for a few years. I don't know. They tend to play younger players in the Bundesliga. On a lot of those teams, they will play younger players. That's not happening in the Premier League.
And I'll play. I mean, he has a couple years, obviously, as a professional. He's done well for the last couple years. But no, you're right. You're right. In the Bundesliga, he has a better chance of actually cracking the lineup because they are more willing to try out players, especially in that midfield. Because that midfield would be key with most EPL sides.
Yeah, it is. And they're loaded at both our Aston Villa and Arsenal with midfielders. And it's not like the West Ham midfield is garbage. It's not great, but it ain't garbage. And so that's just a hard transition to make for any player. And I know we say this so much. It's like, well, why don't we just send everyone to Germany? I'd love to.
Why not?
I'd love to send all our players
I'm
to
cool with
Germany.
that, whatever,
It's just a better place to go to grow. EPL is not. Not even the championship is a good place to go to grow.
Yeah.
They will play the old guys in the championship before they play any of their young players. Look at Leeds this season. They went with mostly steadfast older players. They're young. Their youth team.
Tried and true.
Their youth team barely got to play. There were a couple of youth guys that came up and played this season for Leeds, but not many. So, all right. Transfer news. Everybody loves that transfer news. Aston Villa, Everton, and Newcastle are carefully. Okay, so as soon as you say the word Everton, I know you're full of shit. And I love you. I love this. He has some good posts, but this ain't one of them.
Well, I'm going to flat out say this. He's just passing. He's the messenger, Derek. As you can see, it's this site that's posting it.
Okay, well, those guys are idiots.
He's just passing it along to his listeners, his readers. Assuming it's to him, of course.
Everton couldn't afford to sign you, Brett. Okay? They're going to be loaning,
Derek, I don't know, man. I'm pretty cheap,
That's what she said.
$1.99 here, $2 there, whatever.
Cheap man whore. I'll have to say though that Newcastle could, but that he's going to have to fight for a spot on Newcastle. Sure. And the same thing goes with Aston Villa, who are going to be playing in Champions League next season. And between 20 and 25 mil is the asking price. It's going to be up there at the 25 before it's down to the 20. I can tell you that much.
Well, I mean, obviously, and he mentions it here kind of too. The report adds that the renewal of his contract is not struck, which indicates that they're going to sell, which means that they're going to have to be a little flexible on that asking price. Because that 25 mil is a hefty one that very few teams will be willing to spend.
Right. So I said how this is going to play out before. I'll just go through it real quick again. What's going to happen here is that Juventus is going to say, okay, yeah, we'll throw you out there on the market. Let's see what offers we get. And when nobody's willing to pay their $25 million asking price, and they're going to go back to McKennie and say, all right, take our deal because nobody wanted you. Nobody can afford $25 million.
But couldn't, and then this is a tough asking of any player who wants to be on the pitch all the time. But couldn't he just not re-sign with Juve if they're not willing to sell him at a price that people will pay for him? And they're saying, hey, we're going to offer you less now. Couldn't he just say, nah, I'll write out my final year. And then just write fine. By January, he could sit there and start negotiating.
Not before the World Cup, Brett. Not before the World Cup. You cannot do that.
He's going to have a full year before the World Cup.
I'm telling you.
Season.
You don't do that at this point. You can't sit a whole season out. Look what that did to Bobby Wood in Germany. That's the worst.
What that did to Serginho Dest.
That was not his choice, though. He didn't do that on purpose.
But he still did, though.
Not on purpose.
Not by choice. Sure. Okay, so not on purpose. He wanted to play, but he didn't play.
Can I ask you this?
Weston, who wants to play, but Juve won't play him because he's not re-signing at a lower price.
Can I ask you this? In the end. Does Wes seem like a guy who's going to sit out a season?
I don't think so. That's why I was saying it's going to be tough for a player who wants to be out on the pitch. I'm just saying that if they're going to offer you less, especially even less than what they're offering you now, which is what you're saying after they try to negotiate a $25 million deal somewhere else, at that point, do you sit there and say, oh, yeah, I'll sign that $1.4 million deal. That's cool. I'll continue at Juve for a lesser price. Or do you sit out for 6 months and then start negotiating for free transfers? Because there'll be plenty of options at that point.
6 months. Won't he have to sit out a year?
Well, he'll sit out the year, yes. But he can start negotiating in January.
That's too long. You can't do that. He knows how important this build-up to the World Cup is. He can't do that. He's going to play. He will suck it up. He'll sign it. He'll take the less money that Juventus offered him, and he'll go play. But because, listen, that $25 million amount is fair. It is a fair price. The problem is we got, again, it's not, I don't hate the Brits. I don't hate the English. But they just watched him play at Leeds, and they weren't impressed. And you said in the last show, well, hopefully they're better scouts in England than that. And I would agree. I would hope there would be too. But I don't think there is. I think there is a bias, an implicit bias. I don't think they're going to give him another shot. And I don't think any of these teams are actually going to sign him, the ones listed.
If a team in the EPL were to sit there and say, hey, we'll plop down 25 mil for you, but in order to play for us and for us to actually take this risk, you've got to abide by our cook, our chef, personal chef is assigned to you, because that's the problem. I mean, he came back to Juve and he got a personal chef, and that's when you saw him trimmed down and everything like that. But he goes back to England. I'm just saying, at that point, I would say, hey, we'll take the risk on you because we see the talent, we see that you're a good player. It's a hefty price, but we'll take it. But you've got to abide by our personal chefs.
Well, if a deal does
broccoli or nothing,
if a deal does get done with any team in the Premier League, it's not going to be for 25 or even 20. It will be for 16. Okay? That is more likely to happen. And then he's going to look at the possibility of even his salary having to go down if he wants to get the hell out of Juventus. So I would recommend that what's going to happen here for reals is he's going to end up staying, and he's going to end up signing a deal that they're offering right now. They might even fuck him over some more and say, well, you made us wait so long, we actually reduced your salary. They might get really evil. So he's in a tricky, sticky situation, and his AI girlfriend lives in Milan, which is a 1 hour train ride from Turin. So it only takes her an hour to show up at his apartment. Does he really want to go all the way to England?
So, I will say, Derek, if he goes to Aston Villa, there are 19 players on their squad that make more than what he currently makes now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he could make the equivalent of what he makes now or slightly above if they're willing to spend the 25 mil on him.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to look at a salary decrease, probably more of a plateau, if anything.
Then he gets there, and he's going to have to battle to make that starting 11. Now, I understand the manager there likes him. That's a bonus, okay? So maybe that happens, but he's going to have to battle his ass off to start and play regularly. That's a battle. And then you're in the Premier League, right? You have a couple bad games. Fans are all over your ass, trashing you. Well, that happens to him right now at Juventus. When he plays well, they trash him. So he's probably used to that too, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, the only other teams in
It's
Germany...
nothing new. He stays off the social media, so he doesn't give a rat's ass.
There are only
That's what Diego's saying, at least.
There are only 4 teams in Germany that could afford him. And there's only a few other teams in Italy that could afford him. Everybody in the Premier League could theoretically say, yeah, I'll spill 25, but will they? Yeah, I don't know. I
mean, Norwich dropped $8 million on Sargent, and that's coming from the Bundesliga, where he had one season where he scored 7 goals, and
that's couch money.
Assists. But I'm just saying that you have a midfielder who's been tried at the top of Serie A and has played in Bundesliga, mind you, for a lesser side at the time.
Schalke.
Yeah, not historically, but at the time. But I mean, he's a player who has the experience, and again, as long as really with Weston, it just depends on what shape of Weston you get.
Right,
that'll dictate the playing style.
Does he come in as Twinkies McKennie, or does he come in as I'm on a diet McKennie? But he's played most of this season at Juventus as the I'm on a diet, I have a private chef McKennie.
Yep.
So that's what we need. Now, did anyone in England pay attention to that or not? I do not know. And that's the problem. Are the memories of the Leeds debacle still stuck and flying around in people's skulls? I tell you no matter where he goes, the fans will look at him being signed and immediately be outraged that he was signed, because they're all saying, he's fucking crap. He was straight up garbage at Leeds. Why we sign him? He's a piece of shit. He's fat. Yeah.
Well, they'll discredit his time this season at Juventus because they'll say, well, Serie A is a lesser league than EPL. So yeah, right. I mean, he'll get a lot of shit going back to EPL.
No doubt. Anyhow, it's up to him.
Says that Twinkies McKennie is cold-blooded.
I'm just saying what the English fans say. Just quoting them. Fat McKennie. That's what they called him. The Leeds fans.
Dude, they're going into Juve threads all season, calling him fat. But then they're all following it up with going like, well, why couldn't he play like this with us?
Right. Because he's fat. It's what they say.
Warm welcome party you guys provided him.
And he's such a good guy, too.
Yeah.
You can't even turn that guy into a monster because he's just not. It's not possible. He's such a good kid. All right. Malik Tillman is one of the brightest American talents. And Taylor Booth might have something to do with his U.S. men's national team commitment. We played 2 to 3 years together at Bayern Youth. I was always in his ear saying, come play for America. And he finally made the right decision. Okay. I mean, he can take credit if he wants, but honestly, that's.
I'm sure that was, helping him out a little bit to lean that way. But I mean, he's probably looking at going like, am I really going to play for Germany?
Exactly.
Probably not.
And the answer is the chances of me playing for Germany are like 10%. The chances of me playing for the United States are like 75 to 80%. I think I'm going to go play for the U.S. men's national team. So, because I remember early interviews with the two of them and the mom when they were playing for the German youth teams. And in the interviews in German, they were very committed to playing for Germany. He has obviously taken that next step and decided that's not good. That's not going to happen. I'm going to commit to the country of my father. And there is nothing wrong with that, people. There is nothing wrong with having multiple allegiances as a kid. You have to, when you become a grown-up, you have to make a choice sometimes about who you're going to play for.
And with any duel now, we talk about this all the time. Just because the player is leaning one way, especially since he, in this case, Malik had grown up and raised for the bulk of his life in Germany, the fact that he might lean more towards the German national team, especially for soccer, shouldn't come to anybody's surprise. It doesn't discredit his interest and devotion to playing for the U.S. now.
No.
So it's not like, well, I can't play for Mexico or for Mexico.
For Germany.
I can't play for Germany, so I guess I'll play for U.S. just so I can get some international time. That's not the same. It's not the same thing, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little of that in there, obviously, but it doesn't really change the fact. All you need to know is he committed to the United States? That's it. And then Fumar's like, Booth was in the Bayern Academy. Yes, he was. Yes,
why is he so meh then? Well, he's meh because he's been injured for like the last year and a half.
Yeah, I thought we saw a non-meh Booth last season when he was healthy.
When he was healthy initially, he was killing it.
He was killing it.
Then he got injured.
Yep.
He came back. It took him a moment to get his feet back, but then he started doing very well again. Then he got injured again. And then he came back.
First fucking game of the season, he got injured for Utrecht. All right. He's out. He comes back for 3 games, scores a bunch of goals. All right. Against his brother's team. And then, he's injured again. And then he comes back again. And then it was kind of so-so. So, up and down. What a roller coaster. I just hope he stays healthy. We will find out. Obviously, if Bayern thinks there's talent there's probably some underlying talent there. But as we've seen with Justin Che, and some of their other signings, there have been tons of Americans that have gone through the Bayern Academy. Most of them don't make it.
Well, and with Booth, when he's healthy, he's fast, he's quick on the dribble, and he's confident.
And he's confident and aggressive.
So that's the thing. I mean, the problem is, and the reason why nobody's really talking about right now, is, for the most part, is because he's been so injury prone that it's hard to talk about him.
Right.
Because he does well when he's healthy, and then all of a sudden he gets injured again. We're back in that boat. So
at least when Booth plays, he's never a passenger. He's always trying to influence the game.
Yep.
We have too many players, whether they're in MLS
I'm just happy to be out here.
Or they're abroad, who are passengers during games. All right. We played. Okay. Give him credit. What the hell?
Some credit at least, right?
Give Booth like a few brownie points. Mail him some brownies. With weed in them.
All right, there we are. All right.
With THC. No, don't do that. I don't want to get him in trouble. Nah. Not that if you mail him brownies, he's going to eat those. Trust me, he's not. What is this?
Who's left at Leeds, Derek?
Oh, yeah. You need the go to
timestamps.
3625. It seems that some of the big boys that do a lot of the covering, and the bottom left guy's my favorite, by the way, but I love Joe too. Are if they say if they put their emotion completely aside, their emotion like you traitor, you skunk who left
in reference to Aaronson,
they're like, yeah, that's the one guy I would bring back if I could. And here's what they say.
I've been able to see most of their season. Brendan's had a stinker of the first 3 quarters of the season. He's had an absolute stinker. The final 6 games, he's been very, very good for Union Berlin, and arguably one of the reasons why they managed to stay up. You could also argue it's probably one of the reasons why they're in that position in the first place, because of how bad the first 3 quarters of the season were for him. But he did finish the season really, really strong.
That's so true, though. He's right. I mean, we were on our show through the beginning of the season, and I was just saying, dude, if this guy misses more sitters, and if he is any worse in the final third. And then that last 7 games, we saw Dark Brenden.
So I will obviously we've bashed him for a good chunk of the last year and 3 quarters, like you said,
right?
Because even this time at Leeds, there were moments of brilliance, but then other times you're just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Early on,
but the saying that's he's one of the reasons why they stayed up, but he was also probably one of the reasons why they were in that position to begin with. Well, not necessarily. You talked about the sitters that he missed, and yes, that could have made a difference throughout the season. Don't get me wrong; I'm not saying that, but there were other problems because that middle half of the season, he was a minute player.
Yes,
he came in for 10 minutes, 6 minutes, maybe not at all.
Right.
So you can't necessarily say, well, they're in that position because most likely because of him. They're in that position because for whatever reason they were just sucking donkey balls.
Yeah, well, he didn't start getting new minutes again until the new manager came in.
Yeah.
So that changed everything. The new manager's thinking, okay, how do I save this team from relegation? Who are the guys on the bench that are benched right now that might make a difference? And he picked Aaronson. And
Brenden, we need African dog Brenden. Let's go.
We need Dark Brenden.
Yeah.
And what triggered Dark Brenden? Not being called up for the U.S. men's national team.
That did help, yeah.
And only making the team because somebody else couldn't go. That triggered him. And after that, he played like firecrackers were shooting out of his asshole. I said it last show. But keep playing because this is good.
There is a very talented footballer in there. I believe technically he's a very good footballer. My issue is self-awareness. Because to Luke's point, he needs to bulk up. His first manager he had this season at Union Berlin said he needs to bulk up. And the chairman said towards the back end of the season, Brenden needs to adapt to the more physical side of the game if he wants to be a success at this level.
I think all of those people listen to us, right?
Yeah.
We've been saying it since he left Salzburg.
It's really more about the core, though, and your balance, right?
Yeah.
But we have been saying he needs to boost up his core. So
at least another good 10 pounds of muscle on there somewhere, man. Come on.
Yeah, you don't need to be a bodybuilder, but you need to be able to not be knocked over so easy. But go ahead. He goes.
Aaronson's response to this in an interview he did with ESPN over in America was, I don't see the big deal. It's not the way I play. I'm not that type of player. It's not that big an issue. So there's no self-awareness from the player to realize that a manager and fan base in England told him, you need to get stronger here. I'm not saying pile on the muscle, but get stronger. And then you go to Germany, another top league, and you're told the exact same thing. But again, your opinion is better than those who are skilled and experienced around you. And that's the problem with me. Brenden needs to put on more muscle. He needs to tone up. He needs to go on the Jack Harrison preseason regime that Harrison went on a couple of years ago. And come back with just a couple.
Yeah, Somerville did that too. Because he got knocked around a lot, but not this season. Like, it was hard to knock Somerville over. He took the same Harrison program that Harrison did. But I did notice in those last 6 or 7 games that Aaronson was not going down as easily, right?
Yeah.
I think some of the times Aaronson goes down, he thinks he's drawing a foul.
Probably,
but he's doing it.
He might lean into it a bit more, yeah.
He's doing it as a calculated maneuver. What he doesn't realize is this is the Premier League or this is Germany. You're not getting these calls. We're not. The breeze can't knock you over. That might have worked in MLS in Philadelphia, but it ain't working here. Okay, so
yeah, dude. We had one of Jackson's playoff games this season. Every time a player would fall down to the ground, the ref would blow the whistle and call a foul. Now, and I'm sitting there going like, this kid came in and did a bad, I'm going to call it a tackle, but it wasn't. At U10, they don't have this malicious intent by any means. No. But it was a poorly timed tackle, and he went down. The one who committed the tackle went down to the ground, and the foul was given to them. But I was telling my brother at the time, "Oh, geez, that was a bad play. I hope we may actually get a goal off this set piece here." And then all of a sudden, it went the other way. I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and I kept reminding myself, like, it's U10. The referee's only like 14 years old. Don't say anything.
Right. No, yeah, you got to stay out of that. You don't want to be one of those.
Don't want to be one of that's like, YouTube sensation Brett Corbett from the Straight Red Card.
Loses his shit. loses his shit at a U10 game. All right.
That motherfucker's wrong.
Oh my God. If you think that's Phil Collins, Phil Collins' head is much shorter and wider. But thank you, Broken Furnace. Good. He is bald. Yeah. I'll give you that. And the next one is 43. And this is 43 flat. And this is, I think, Joe, and about forgiveness. As
Lockie alluded to. But on Brenden Aaronson, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because, I coined him the Rizzler paper and all this sort of stuff. But, like, in terms of his pressing ability and his off-the-ball stuff, I do think he would work. I do think he would work. If I take the emotion out of it, I do think he would. That's
one of the things, sorry, just really quickly. That's one of the things that we have missed from anybody who's played 10 this year, whether it be Pirro or whether it be Rutter, is that additional person to press and defend from the front effectively. When Paddy's played, he's done it, but I'm not sure whether that's been instructed by Farker or whether it's something actually.
On this one, they're basically all saying, all four of them said, if I took my emotion out of it, we'd take Aaronson back. We would, because we think he'd be good for the team. They all said it. They all went around. We only played 2 of them, and now 3. But I guess I'm hoping these are like outside of the other guy. Goddamn, forgot his name. These are some of the biggest fan shows for Leeds.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the fans listening to these shows will go, okay, all right, you know what? Whatever's best for the team. So I'll take him back.
And that'd be my next question, because now that they're not promoted, if they were to have gotten promoted, do you think they'd have the same take though? If I took the emotion out, he could probably help us. Or do you think they're looking at like, well, the parachute payments are getting lesser and lesser. We're gonna have to sell off X amount of $1 million worth of players this offseason.
By the way, Connor, thank you, BMR. I love Connor too.
And then we're kind of stuck with Aaronson because nobody's going to pay the $12 million that we won for him. Our other option is to loan him back on. That doesn't do us any good.
I heard the number is actually at 15. So they're really smoking grass at Leeds if they think they're going to get 15 for Aaronson.
Oh, fair enough. I thought you were talking about the amount of millions that they got to sell the season. I thought that's insanely low. But right. That's it. That's all. That's cool. But no. But I wonder if they're doing this as a calculation that sense to try to offset the heat that Brendan's going to get by coming back, because they're not going to, let's say, loan him back out, which isn't going to do Leeds any good.
No,
because that's all just an emotion take at that point. Do you think they're doing this as a calculated approach, saying like we kind of have to stifle this a bit, this heat that he's going to receive, and we're going to have to look at this kind of rationally?
Well, the other problem really is his salary. Really, it's big. So they go on later in the show and talk about, do you think he'd be willing to sit down and lower his salary for the season and to play for us?
I would if I was BA.
And would Farka sit down? I think Farka is definitely sitting down with all the players that are coming back from loan, including Roca. You're not going to be able to keep Vober. That's over with. They know there's too much money out there willing to buy Vober, so that's over. But there are other players that maybe might play. But the problem is the emotion. The emotion's the problem. They're all rats, as they called them here on this show. On their show they said, "Who of the rats would we welcome back?" The only guy they're like willing to say something really positive about was Aaronson. I'll say that much. And let's just finish Joe up here, because
I agree. I agree with John here. Roca is trash.
I mean, he wasn't trash for Batiste at the beginning of the season. He really wasn't. Did he? Then he got pneumonia, and he was out for a long time. And then he came back at the very end of the season, and yeah, it's hard to come back from pneumonia. But it's not like he started. Roca was bad in Spain. Maybe the Premier League's just not Roca's bag of chips.
That's what Johnny's saying too. Roca ain't made for EPL, and that could be the thing, right?
Yep.
And that was the strangest part of watching Leeds for that season. was all the talk about Roca. Roca was great. Roca was great. I'm like, I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I have a blind spot there, but I'm not seeing why everybody's so hyped up on Roca.
Well, Colin in particular was really a big Roca supporter for a while, and then it kind of tapered off as the season went on.
Yeah.
So, by pneumonia, you mean testicle rash? Yes. I like that.
I'll give it to him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's finish Joe real quick, and then we'll move on.
Rutter and Pirro just don't want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Like, even if, like, when Rutter was in the 9 initially, because he could, you know, he could press more, even his press was shit. So, like, Pirro and Rutter together pressing was pretty garbage, in my opinion, whereas Aaronson or James, remember James in the 9 under Bielsa? Boy, that lad could press.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? He could press. He couldn't finish at that time or all, but he could press. And I think Aaronson, to be fair to him, gives you that. He gives you what James gives you, if I'm being totally honest. He will run himself into the ground. Like, the poor lad, I can't believe I'm, like, calling him a poor lad, but Jesse beasted him as well, right? Jesse did beast him for 38 games, played him every minute, every man and his dog and everything in between. It
wasn't 38 games, because Jesse wasn't there for 38 games.
Yeah, both seasons combined he was.
Yeah, but Aaronson didn't come to his first full season.
But what he's saying is he played them in a row, game after game after game. He started them, and he never gave him a rest.
Sure. For the first 4 months that Jesse was there with Brenden. Yes.
I mean, basically, he's making excuses for Aaronson. The only thing I'd say to Joe is, like, Brenden could run forever.
Yeah.
But even at
he's one of the players on that pitch that I would imagine would just run forever. Yeah.
Even at Union Berlin, where he ran his ass off for those last 7 games as a starter, they yanked him at around the 75th. Like, they're like, okay, we're not going to run him 90 like this every game. Whereas Jesse ran him 90 every game. Not every game. That's not fair. But a lot, right?
Pretty much every game when Jesse was there, yeah.
I mean, and the way they were playing at that high intensity, like, that's got to take a toll on a guy, too. No wonder he's falling over so easy. But no, I'm not going to make excuses. He fell over on his own.
His legs just kind of gave out on him. Like, okay. All right. So we're listening to more Joe? No, timestamp somewhere?
We're done. But if you don't want, well, if Aaronson goes back to Leeds and you like to keep track of what Aaronson's doing, Joe's a great show. I love Joe. Joe's a good guy. Connor's a great guy. In fact, I like if Aaronson does go back to get either Joe or Connor on the show. I think they'd come on. So that would be cool to have them on.
I feel like that have to be a recorded show, though, because it's very specific to Leeds and Aaronson at that point.
Well, and it'd be like midnight there. So
that's also a good point too. Yeah,
it'd be after midnight. So, all right, what do we got?
Let's move on to the next screen I got pulled up here. Well, we're actually we're an hour and almost 10 minutes in, and we're doing good. We're not jumping into the Olympic squad just yet, but we are going to be jumping into a roster that was recently announced.
By the way, I want to thank all 200 and the biggest number I saw. Yeah. But the biggest number sounds like 248 or 238 or whatever it was. Thank you for all coming out and watching on Twitter and YouTube.
There's currently 104 people watching on Twitter, so that gives us about 111 on YouTube.
Quite nice. So, I like this new thing we're doing here. This is cool.
Splitcast, simulcast, yeah.
I do like it. Shredder said, here's the U20 called U19 roster for the last camp before U20 World Cup qualifiers in July. The team will face Argentina and Buenos Aires on June 7th and Uruguay on June 11th in Montevideo. This will start off a thread with some of my thoughts on the roster.
The U16 team, U16, I think it was, which is weird. They're throwing out like yearly age groups now. This is called in U19s, but it's U20 squad technically. But there's they're like showing like a roster for like the U16s, which is clearly just the U17s at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, the U16s were just in South America, and they took on Argentina and Uruguay as well. Mm-hmm. And they took them both to draws. I don't know what the final scores were. I think one was like a 2-2 and maybe a 1-1 or something like that. But I mean,
the youth teams are looking
good.
Promising.
Good, yeah. Good. They're getting some results and they're playing in some quality locations. Not all state bound. Nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So
one of our youth team, I forgot which was it, the U20s or something. They also had a European camp recently where they got some decent results. You know, I think they beat England, they drew Croatia, and I forgot the third game. But
the interesting thing is not a whole lot of European talent on this roster.
There's more in this one than there is in the U23, though.
That's true, and there are quite a few dual nats playing, for instance, in the Bundesliga's lower U19 teams and U17s that didn't get a call up here.
So we got a Frankfurt, we got a Bremen, we got a Freiburg.
So there's some, but there's
German.
There's more than those guys out there. So maybe they may know more than we do. We don't scout U19s generally in Germany. I mean, we've brought it up on the show, obviously, but
and it's also U20 qualifiers. So you got to take into consideration that European teams don't necessarily have to release them.
Yeah, that's
so maybe they're at this point looking at more MLS based.
Maybe. I do like the names. Gavin Beavers. That's one of my favorite. Julian Eyestone. Who's he's currently unattached. I wonder why. Must be working on a new deal somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing any names here that might stand out. Harangi for Eintracht Frankfurt, of course, stands out to me. Drew Murray from Freiburg stands out to me because all I know is I don't know the MLS kids. I just know Ethan Kohler, exactly, for Werder Bremen. Let me see here. I don't know a lot of the MLS youth guys. I really just don't know who they are.
Sergio, I've watched him on a couple of the Chicago Fire 2 teams.
Okay.
He looks very. He's one of about 5 kids on the that are academy / MLS 2 team that play for MLS 2 or Fire, not MLS 2, but Chicago 2. Then I'm like, these. Hopefully Chicago signs these kids soon because I feel like there's going to be some promising players there. But I'm saying promising for Chicago, not necessarily saying these guys are going to be the next Gio Reyna.
Right.
But I'm just saying, hey, I want the youth talent that are coming up through the academies and coming up through the MLS Next Pro teams to come up into the MLS sides as well to help shore up depth, bring in some interesting starters. Because with all these expansion teams, there's always a talk of how our depth is getting stretched out across the 45,000 teams that MLS has now.
Yeah.
So,
Paulo Rudisol, by the way, another Feyenoord, the Feyenoord kid, and then Nico Zachary's. I know.
Don't forget Soma.
Zachary's we got to see play before on the youth squad, so I know him.
Was Soma part of the U17 team?
Believe so.
I think so.
Berchamas, certainly highly rated from Charlotte. Carol Figueroa from Liverpool. We all know him.
Mm-hmm.
Just re-signed with Liverpool. Let me see. Who else do I know here? I really don't. I don't even know Marcus Zambriano or whatever. Zambrano. I don't know that player from Portugal. But yeah, it's an interesting mix. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sorry, Fumar goes, the Fire released a youth player?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a running gag right now.
Who was the guy on X saying this whole thing that Chicago doesn't release their players for U23?
You're talking about Alex
Calabrese?
Yeah, so there's the talk. Obviously, the roster for the U23 came out. Spoiler alert, because we're not there yet. But Guti and Brady aren't included. So people are like, "Oh, this is a missed opportunity. I can't believe, maybe Chicago didn't release him." And Alex is saying, well, Chicago hasn't blocked any of the U23 call-ups.
That's not true.
Well,
I believe Guti and Brady have been in the past have been refused.
The only thing that's been made public has been the refusal for the U20s World Cup, and that's because they're playing in the Leagues Cup or whatever the fuck that thing is that we're going to be playing against Mexico. And then they also blocked the Camp Cupcake because they wanted them there preseason.
Okay, that's enough. That's
true.
At least 2 times that Chicago has said fuck off. And you know what happens when you get told a couple times in a row to fuck off? Then you say, you fuck off. We're not calling any of your kids anymore.
To Alex's point, though, technically speaking, none of those declines were U23s.
It doesn't matter.
But Guti has been called up since November, I think was the last time he got called up. And Brady has been called up 3 times since. So they've been included in the 23 camps. And that's his talking point. He was very much focused on the U23 aspect. We're sitting there going in the broader spectrum saying, well, if you're going to constantly decline these, then the organism that is USSF is going to be like, well, let's just, well, not even that the fact that if you deny the whole like if you keep denying a girl, then she's just going to fuck off to somebody else type of thing. But it's the recency bias for the coaching staff as a whole. Mm-hmm. So okay, if Brady and Guti's not included at the U20 World Cup or the Camp Cupcake, the coaching staff is seeing a whole swath of other U20, U23s. Asmir's a great example. He got into the Camp Cupcake and he did incredibly well. So that's going to be in their mind instead of saying, "Well, we haven't really seen Guti since November." Well, we just saw Asmir and he fucking slayed against Bosnia's X team.
Right. So what you're saying, which is completely true, the more you see players, the more they will fit in to what you're trying to do. And not only that, it's just the more exposure, the more you're able to win over the coaches. Now, if you get denied a bunch of times from going, then you get less exposure. You get less eyeballs on you. And you also don't get to play in the system. There is clearly a system we play all the way through the youth teams. And those players, and you'll hear it later from Mitrovic, it's more important that the players understand the system together as a whole. That's the first thing he is interested in. He is not interested in changing the system or changing the formation to fit the best players we have necessarily. Mm-hmm. He is interested solely in getting the players that play together the best together within the system that the U.S. men's national team has decided they're all going to play. If you haven't seen it yet and don't realize it, all of our teams play the same system. It's sometimes maddening, actually, because even the women did it. All right. It was maddening at the last World Cup, the women played to watch.
But wasn't didn't Mitrovic also coach the U20 World Cup? Wasn't he? Since he basically ran the U20 U23s.
Yes.
So I mean, there's that exposure. Again, he's being exposed to other players besides Brady and Guti at that point. He's also part of Greg's coaching staff when it comes to games that aren't including a U23 window. So he was there during Camp Cupcake. Again, being exposed to players like McGlynn, being exposed to players like Asmir.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it's yes, they haven't declined a U23 call-up, but those other declines have caused other issues because they're being exposed to other players.
Yep.
So I'm making a case of defense of what Alex was saying, but also stating in more depth what we're trying to say.
Half the battle is showing up.
Yeah.
And if your team doesn't let you show up, yeah. Johnny Larry for $2. Brendo got treated like a P. Diddy play toy in the EPL. Okay, I see what you're saying there.
Got treated like an underage kid there.
I mean, he treated himself that way, honestly. Screw these bums, import more Germans.
We got at least 3 German.
We got
three
at
or
least
4 Germans in here.
We got 3. It's really hard to say how the scouting process works at this level, but it surely seems to be more heavily weighed towards domestic. I would say that for sure. I would say that for sure. So, all right. Jeremiah Oshin. I'm told that Reed, Baker, Whiting, and Obed Vargas were also invited but declined.
So it looks like I don't know if that means that Seattle declined or they declined.
It sounds like they declined.
Because Vargas has been a big part of the U20s of recent, so I'm not sure why he would have necessarily declined the call up unless. And I don't follow Seattle, so I don't know how he's performing or if he's performing much. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But yeah, there's definitely some declining amongst MLS sides still going on. And who that is, but
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't. And we don't know the source from what source and I don't know that guy, so I don't know.
He's an editor for the best independent soccer blog and MLS, Sounder at heart.
Well, he's probably got some idea then.
Yeah, he's probably got some insight.
Yep.
So let's jump into the main topic here. Talk about the Olympic squad. Before we actually talk about the current Olympic squad. I want Scott Jorek. I hope I don't mess up his last name. Jorek.
Jorek.
Okay. Scott had posted a flashback, and I'm going to pull up here in just a second. But flashback to the 2020 CONCACAF Olympic qualifying. Player pool talent is trending up. So he's looking at that 2020, and then he's looking at the current roster that's coming up, and he's pointing out the fact that. Just looking at this pool and then what we are seeing now, and he's seeing an incline, is what he's saying. An increase in talent.
That's good. I would just say in his original Polish, that would be pronounced Jorek.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
just in case he still pronounces that way. I doubt it though. Holy minuscule.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can. I'll just pull it up in a new tab and we can zoom in a little more on that. So that is going to be brutal to read. And you can read that perfectly fine.
I sent you another one, and it was broken down by position. It's a lot better.
This is the 2020 Olympic squad, Derek, not the current one.
Why are we going back in time exactly?
Because it's an interesting thing to look back at the squad that we had then and looking at the squad now, and you can see the increase. This is just another.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So this is the 50 or 60 man prelim squad that the coach was able to pull from. Who was our coach in 2020 for the Olympics? Was it Jason?
Jason Christ.
He butchered that.
Yes, he did.
So there's some obvious names here. Obviously, you have Brenden Aaronson. Look at that. There's Efren Alvarez. He was included.
Yeah, he didn't accept.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, Cole Bassett. You got George Bello. Yeah, you got Bucio, Callender, Caden Clark, Cade Cowell, Conrad De La Fuente. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going
Cardoso.
Cardoso's in here. Is he right here? Did I miss him?
Yep, there he is. It's João Lucas de Souza Cardoso. Number 12.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. I'm looking. I'm like, it's not in the season. I'm not seeing this. Okay, yes. So, yeah, he was included in the 50.
He just goes by Johnny.
It's fair.
That's a very Brazilian thing to do.
Gloucester, just some names.
Gloucester.
Lewis,
oh, my God. Does Gloucester even have a team?
No.
Is he in the USL somewhere?
He's back with FC Dallas, I thought. Or maybe he went back to FC Dallas and they dumped him. I'm not sure.
No, he's done in MLS. I don't believe he's even in MLS anymore.
Here's Uli. We got Jonathan Klinsman. Let's see here. Get the bottom half, and then we'll go to the actual squad. A new tab. Nope. Did I do the same one there? Motherfucker.
That's not Johnny. Yes. So in Brazilian culture, the name you adopt has nothing to do with your actual name. Obviously, he goes by Johnny and Cardoso, but he was never named Johnny. It's not his real name. So Brazilians will often pick a name that has nothing to do with any of the actual names in their name.
Mm.
Okay, that's just how that works.
Yep.
All right.
Mihailovic, we got Ochoa, David, that panned out well. Keaton Parks, Pepe was in the 50. See, there's Brian Reynolds, James Sands,
Pines,
Soto, Tessman, Trusty, Fines, Yule, Williamson. I mean, I guess just looking at it hindsight, we're what, like 4 years past this point, and you're looking at it like, well, some of these players just definitely didn't pan out.
Most of them didn't.
So I mean, that's the talking point as far as looking at the current youth squads. And you're going like, oh my God, we got all these great players. Well, most of them won't pan out, guys.
Most of them will not pan out. We should all, the point Brett is making is absolutely dead on here. Don't get too excited by any of this, because there will be a very small percentage of this that turns out.
Yep. And here's the squad that we had. None of the goalkeepers is JT still San Jose's goalkeeper? I have no idea now.
Matt Reese still plays well.
David Ochoa,
he's goner.
He's a goalkeeper coach for a USL side.
Wanaro, yep. Wanaro switch sides. Henry Kessler is a forgotten man. Justin Glad, forgotten man. Mauricio Pineda.
He still plays in Chicago.
Yep. Sam Vines tried, came back home.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Herrera, nope. Yule, San Jose. Mihailovic tried, came back home. Sebastian Saucedo, one-trick pony, doesn't play much anymore in Mexico.
And anyways, we've got a new U23 player that's the new Saucedo, right? We got Cowell.
Caden Cowell's the new Sebastian Saucedo. Yep. Exactly. And then there you go. You got one. Johnny Cardoso. Bing. You got one.
Two.
Hassani Dodson. Nah, not national team quality. Jonathan Lewis is almost laughable. Jesus Ferreira put in his hours, but in his games.
Pirate of the Caribbean.
Not national team quality. Benji Michel went off to Portugal, spent most of his time at Roca on the bench. Barely played. Okay, Benji Michel. Sebastian Soto, Klagenfurt. Do I need to say anything else? Klagenfurt.
So the whole point there really is we talked about, most of the players won't pan out. So we're going to look at the current squad. Hopefully we have a better turnover as far as talent is concerned.
Doubt it.
We'll see what happens here.
Doubt it.
So let's see.
Start with
goalkeeper.
I mean, Schulte's promising, and so is Slanina.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that either of them will work out or do anything better than Matt Turner. Okay? It's just not a guarantee of that. You're hoping that they will be, though. We're all hoping they will be. Both of them suffer from the same challenges as most of our goalies do currently with their feet.
It's funny when you look at goalkeepers now, and you have Schulte, you have Slanina. I bring Brady up, but he still has a lot of room to grow. But you have Cochin over at Barcelona.
He's pretty good with his feet.
And you're looking at a number of relatively young goalkeepers that are in the mix moving forward. And you sit there and go like, well, from Howard until Schulte and Slanina and this crew, we had that Breck Shea gap of goalkeeper depth.
Yeah.
And it was like we're relying on Turner, and Turner's a good shot stopper.
Used to be.
Horvath, he used to be, until his confidence got shot.
Yep.
I mean, Horvath is serviceable, but he's prone for mistakes. They're not neither of them are that great. Stefan wasn't even great in his prime. So I mean, we hit that wall with goalkeepers that hopefully we're starting to see a bit of a change. I mean, and I'm gonna toot my Chicago horn here, because one thing that we can produce is goalkeepers apparently, with Slanina going on. Brady's doing well despite the fact that he plays for a crap team. And then down in their U17s and their academy team, they got Lalas, who's very promising too.
Well,
So,
listen, we said this before. The goalkeeper position has changed.
Yep.
You can't just be a Casey Keller great shot stopper anymore.
Nope.
Or a Brad Friedel anymore. You got to be good with your feet. And that is a new requirement for a goalkeeper. We're just been very slow here in the United States at figuring that out. And so hopefully this newer generation coming up will be better. I think Coachin's probably one of the best with his feet so far that I've seen on film.
I've seen very limited, but yes, what I've seen has been promising as far as just being confident with your feet.
Now, is he as good as a shot stopper as others? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out too.
You know, the funny thing is, after the 2026 World Cup, that goalkeeper position is going to be wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, Turner's going to be in his early 30s. Will he even be competing at a high level at that point? He's not competing at a high level right now.
Right.
And Horvath has 1 foot out. And at that point, it is just a wide open door for any one of our youth goalkeepers really just to take a hold. I think it's going to take us some solid seasons in Europe, and I think you're going to see a quick change after 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. More than likely, unless Turner decides to hold steady at Forest, more than likely, he's going to end up in the championship. So, or a newly promoted team who's like, okay, our goalkeeper was good enough for the championship, but we need a little bit of a step up. And at least Turner got to play some actual Premier League games, so maybe he's a step up.
I think he's going to have to prove it somewhere else because,
yeah,
I mean, he basically had that with Forest. He went from Arsenal down to Forest, who aren't a newly promoted team by any means, but I mean, they're always staving off relegation, or at least they had been that previous year and then this current year.
Well, and the negative highlight reels of his time at Forest are readily available on YouTube. And, you know, as I said before last show, you do a bunch of stinkers. That's what people remember. That's the harsh thing about being a goalkeeper. It's harsh. Yep. So, all right, we got defenders. I mean, U.S. youth team, they seem to be really high on Nathan Harriel. So here he is again. Jalen Neal back from injury. Brian Reynolds, it's fine.
Yeah.
Not the best season at Westerlo. Remind me to text Pete. He's adding an extra O to Westerlo now.
He's been Westerlo for a while, I thought.
And I thought on the show we explained, no, dude.
We did Eupen.
We didn't do Westerlo?
I don't know if we did Westerlo or not.
He's confusing it with Waterloo.
Uh-huh.
And there are other cities with OO at the end of them, you know, obviously in the country. But, all right, it's a small problem. John Tolkien here. John Tompkinson. I was a little surprised by the Tompkinson thing.
Really? Why?
Bradford City. That's way down there. We're calling it.
John Tompkinson. I mean, on loan, but yes, I mean he went on loan to a lesser league and played consistently. And from what the reports were saying, because obviously I can't watch Norwich games, I'm not going to be able to see that team by any means. But for all the reports and all the people are talking about him, saying that he played well there. So, and he's been a consistent for the U23s. I mean, he has like seven call-ups for the U23s.
I think somebody also mentioned if Max Dietz was healthy, Tompkinson would not have made this team.
I'm trying to think.
You're not taking off Neal. You're not taking off Zimmerman. I really do think if Dietz was healthy, there's no Tompkinson.
I really don't like the fact that Zimmerman's there. In the sense that I look at the Olympics and I see it as a youth training. I look at it as a chance. Now, of course, they had Zimmerman hoping that that's going to shore up the defense and maybe make us contenders moving forward. But I would have rather have seen a
like who
U23 bring in Dietz at that point if he's healthy and keep Tompkinson in there.
Dietz is still up to make the team.
Sure, yes. I'm just saying if Dietz was healthy now, you said that Tompkinson wouldn't be there.
That's right.
And I said, well, I would rather just get rid of Zimmerman and make this a legit U23, give them the exposure that might open the doors for something for them in the future. Because Dietz is already playing in 2 Bundesliga. He comes and has a decent Olympics. I just think that's just going to add to his.
I get your point, but there's no way that's happening. We all knew Zimmerman was.
I know that. And I'm not saying that. Oh my God, this blew me away that he's there. I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of the idea of that.
Well, you're going to have to pick at least 3 guys, right? Overage guys. In the end, no, you don't have to, but you're going to. That's what I'm saying. And the real guy who got, if you're going to put Zimmerman on here, fine. But the guy that got screwed overage-wise was Trusty.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got boned, especially if you consider, where's it going to be? Especially if you consider the fact that Miles Robinson is being heralded as a very likely candidate for one of the other overage spots. So he'll be at the Copa and the Olympics, it sounds like.
I would be shocked that his club team releases him for that. Shocked.
I mean, that's a good month or two of him not being there. Now, mind you, is it going to be Copa that's going to be in the midst of what is that fake cup called in the
Leagues Cup?
The Leagues Cup. Is it going to be Copa or is it going to be the Olympics during the Leagues Cup? Because I mean that's a month worth of games that there won't be any MLS games during. So they could release them for that, and then you miss them for at least 3 games of another tournament or whatever. But I don't know.
You know, Larry will never get over the fact that I said Zimmerman wasn't at fault for one of the Wales goals.
No, it wasn't the Wales, because he was incredibly responsible for the Wales goal. He was the one who fouled what's his face?
Okay.
You said Zimmerman wasn't responsible for any of the Dutch goals.
I think so.
They were all crosses and they were not to his man. So yes, I believe that was it. It wasn't the Wales goal, because again, he was directly responsible for fouling Bale. Thank you, Fumar.
Hey man, have your own selective memory, because my memory is shot. All right. Caleb Wiley's fine as well, although, you know, not the greatest last season, but hey, played well recently. Pretty recently, he played pretty well. So for Atlanta, I think he just got an assist. I think something like that. Yeah, an assist.
In this lineup, who's the backup to Reynolds at right?
Harriel?
Is Harriel?
I think so.
So then what we're looking at
because Tolkien's left.
We're looking at 3 center backs.
No, Tolkien's left backup.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Tolkien and Wiley will be playing left.
Right.
Reynolds right.
And Harriel.
If it's Harriel, that's right. Then you're looking at Neal, Tompkinson, and Zimmerman as the only center back options.
You only get 18 plus 4.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, I don't know why the Olympics are so stupid. Like an 18-man roster plus 4 guys who are going to be dressed in, you know, normal civilian clothes, following you around the whole tournament in case somebody gets injured. This is ridiculous. And one of them, by the way, of the 4, has to be a goalkeeper. These are the dumbest rules I've ever read.
Well, and I hear with the Olympics, you're taking 3 goalkeepers. Is that what you just said?
Nope, you only have to take 2, but you could.
People were saying that you're required to take 3 for the Olympics. So.
No, you're not. Only 2. Okay, and then of the 4 extras that you get on top of the 18, you get to dress in civilian clothes and follow you around for the whole tournament. Those 4, one of the 4 has to be a goalkeeper. So that's what they're confusing here. One of the extra 4 that aren't allowed to be on the team, but they're allowed to hang around and wait in case somebody gets hurt, has to be a goalkeeper.
Okay, maybe that's what it was then. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I guess I know who would never get released by Heidenheim, but a player like Maloney would be a key type of player that Mitrovic will want to bring, somebody who can play multiple positions. He's a 6 who can also play defender. Now, again, he's never going to get released. I'm not saying he should either, but I'm just saying he'll have to look at this 18 squad, and he'll have to have at least a couple players in there that are utility players that can play multiple spots.
Of the 2 players who've most recently been fucked the hardest without any lube, Trusty and Maloney are up there.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Next.
Moving on to the midfield.
Cole Bassett. He's played well for the Rapids.
Sure. I see it.
Yeah. Busio, Kramashi, Jack McGlynn. That's a cool, inclusion there. I think he's having a good season. Aiden Morris, you get it. I mean, he's on the best team in the league. He's reliable. He's not going to, blow your mind off, but he's competent. Unless you put a lot of pressure on him, then he might fall apart. But we don't know that because we've never seen him play outside of MLS before. So we don't know if you put Aiden Morris in Germany, could he handle it in the Bundesliga? We wouldn't know. Could he adapt and become a quicker thinker? We don't know. But for MLS, he's one of the best American players in MLS. So makes sense that he's here. Buxus, yep. Tanner Tessman is the best player, might be the best player on this team, honestly.
I think so, yeah. I would think so.
I mean, he's going to be the heart and soul of the center midfield holding spot on the squad. So I don't have any real complaints except for no Luna, if you want to call him a midfielder. If you
and he would in Mitrovic's 4-3-3, he wouldn't play in the midfield.
No,
unless they go to a 4-2-3-1,
which are the only 2 acceptable formations. By the way, a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3 for the U.S. soccer system. Those are the only 2 that are acceptable, as far as I understand. That you're allowed to play at a youth team, at the women's team, at the main team, big boy team. Those are the only 2 formations you're allowed to use.
Yeah. Of this midfield squad, and again, assuming that players like Luna or Guti, they're both going to be listed as the forwards because they're going to play out wide in the 4-3-3.
Yep.
Yep. I don't necessarily think I can think of anybody who's really missing in the midfield.
I'd really like to see a 4-2-3-1 with Tessman and Aiden Morris, and then have maybe Busio pushed a little further forward as the third.
So who do you have with Morris?
In a 4-2-3-1, I have the 2 holding midfielders as Tessman and Aiden Morris.
That's fair, yeah.
And then pick your poison. You could do Kramashi as your CAM. You could do Busio if you're confident in that. You could do Puxis. Although, all these players, I think Puxis is the one that Mitrovic might have a boner for, just because of regional associations. I don't know, but we're going to find out, right? But I think you're right, and this is probably going to be the standard Mitrovic 4-3-3. I don't see a 4-2-3-1. I wish I saw one, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Well, I mean, and looking at this squad, I guess maybe Kramashi is going to be the more, and McGlynn would be the 2 creative options here.
If you're playing a 4-2-3-1, where's Luna?
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
That's your 10, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, you're looking at the forward squad here. You've got a lot. I mean, you've got a lot of outside winger types.
Yes,
and then you got your strikers.
Paxton Aaronson could play a CAM.
He could, yeah.
But here's the crazy thing.
I think Esmir, given what I've seen from Esmir, I think he could as well.
In Holland, Paxton Aaronson was in the 4-2-3-1 that they played on that team. He was a holding midfielder.
Well, yeah, he basically played that anyways for the youth squads as a withdrawn striker or a false 9 or whatever. He played that in the U20s. So
But in Holland, he played as a holding midfielder.
Sure. Oh, okay.
In the double pivot.
Oh, I get you now. My bad.
Time and time again. And he was great there. So that gives you another option if you want to put him back in the midfield, right? But he can also play CAM. He can also play the 9. And that's where he's mostly played with the youth teams. So that's probably where they're going to keep him. I doubt they went back and watched all his footage in Holland and said, oh, he can play a holding mid too? I didn't know that. Well, his Dutch team thought he could before, of course, he's back to Frankfurt now. Esmir, another kid that could play out wide, but he could also play CAM, right?
He's great. He's creative enough, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you can't take the ball off his feet. He's that good. Taylor Booth, that's pretty much a wide player at this point.
But he has played in the middle before.
I think those days are done for him.
I agree. I agree.
He's a right midfielder, right winger. I think that's where I watched him, at least when he was firing on all cylinders in Holland. That the year before Utrecht, that's where he was kicking ass, right? Did he pinch in sometimes? Sure he did. But he's dangerous out wide. Cade Cowell, that's one trick pony.
I think Mitrovic just really likes Cade because he's been a part of all of his teams, a lot of the windows. And, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him in the sense that if he does pull off his move, he's putting on a decent shot. And, yeah, he'll score occasionally. But he doesn't score often. And it's very predictable. And I think that when we go to the Olympics, we're going to be facing smarter teams than what we see when we play the CONCACAF youth teams.
And grown men in their 20s. That shit, his physicality, which is a gift, and his speed, that's a gift. Technically, you know, we used to say this about Jordan Morris back in the day. Like, do you have a left foot? But then we saw in the one cup game, Cade Cowell make like an assist and score a goal with his left foot. And we're like, okay, that's a good sign. But now, as the Chivas season has gone along, he is getting fewer minutes. And why? He's Sebastian Salcedo.
Yep.
That's why. Except he's taller and bigger and more physical than Sebastian Salcedo. But he's a one-trick pony who likes to dribble down the left, cut in on his right foot. And as you said, you play good teams, they're going to know that.
Yep.
If they've done their scouting, they're going to know that. He's a left winger that likes to cut inside like every other right-footed player ever. That's true. But
that's his only move.
But a lot of players, let's take Pulisic when he plays on the left. You have to honor him going to the left because he can crank it on the left too.
Yep.
We do not see Cade Cowell. You don't have to honor him. In fact, you force him out left. You close down the move to cut inside completely. It's easier to defend that when you know the left foot is not a threat. With Pulisic on the left, it's a threat. We saw that this year with AC Milan. How many goals did he score with his left foot? Quite a few.
Yep. Yeah, I made a comment yesterday, I think it was, where I'm like, why is Cade Cowell brought in over Luna in this sense? Because you have one player who's a one trick pony that likes to whatever, it's a one trick pony, very easily predicted, compared to somebody who's more creative with the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. And Colin came in, he agreed that Luna is a better player, but he didn't understand the Cade Cowell hate. And I'm like, well, it's not necessarily hate. It's just me expressing my opinion and the fact that I think that Cade Cowell is a one-trick pony, wanting to dribble and then cut to the right and rip a shot. If I was a smart defender, I would say I would give him the left side. I would just take off that. I would cut that middle out completely.
Yep.
Force him to take it out to the left
every time.
Every single time. Now, he might burn me once in a while. Every now and then he might get around me or whatever. But you give him that weak foot, and he'll be limited in comparison.
So Fumar, Cade has scored with his left. But that was actually, interestingly enough, when he was playing on the right wing for Chivas during a whatever cup that was, game what that was, and he cut into his left foot and scored. So it's possible, but it's rare. The problem is it's rare. It's not like Pulisic, who does it for Chelsea. Yeah. He's done it for Chelsea. He's done it now at AC Milan. We know Pulisic's got a rocket of a left foot if he needs it. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with Cade Cowell as a person. He seems like a perfectly charming kid. So this isn't hate. This isn't like just shitting on Cade Cowell. It's just we call it like we see it. He is a one-dimensional player. And can he change that? Can he become Jordan Morris plus? Maybe. But he's going to have to make a very focused effort on doing that. Because right now, that's what he is. He's Jordan Morris.
And going into the future, moving into the future, he may be a very serviceable sub to come in late in the match with his physicality, his pace. And when he does get to his right foot, he does have a hell of a shot.
It is.
So you get those defenders a little slow-footed because they've played 60, 70, 80 minutes already. You throw him in, he might make things work. But I'm just saying, especially if we're looking at an 18-man roster, that's taking one spot out completely. And I don't think it's a good move.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But I think Diego Luna might. I think he might go, wow, what do I need to do? Like, I know I'm a roller coaster at times, but I've shown that I can bring this team something they don't have, which is creativity, thoughtful football,
Of the forward list, Eric, who are you most excited to see?
Just because I haven't got to see a lot of him this season, because there's, again, on ESPN Plus, you never know what games you're going to get to watch. And I often forgot to watch the current games because I wasn't sure if Damian Downs is going to play or not. But I'd like to see how that develops, Damian Downs. I really do.
He's a center forward?
He can play out wide or in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Asmir more.
Me too. I'd agree with you. Yeah.
I'd like to see what Griffin Yao can do at that point. Yeah, obviously a solid enough season here with Westerlo.
Yeah. Westerlo. Yeah.
I would like to see Brady's show up and not just like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Yep.
And
then okay. Johan
Taylor, I'd like to see all them. I haven't seen enough of Johan. At all, actually.
Right. I think I've watched 2 games all season with Johan Gomez. And that's it. And then I do know at the end of the season, when Braunschweig were just trying to survive, he ended up playing in a double pivot in the midfield. And it was so weird to see. But, he, as a goal scorer, not one. He's just not a goal scorer. As tall as he is, as big as he is, I don't know how tall he is. He looked tall when I watched, so maybe that's just perspective from watching on TV doesn't always give you the right height of somebody. Seems to be a fairly well-built kid, but not a goal scorer, not a finisher. That's the problem with Johan Gomez. Whereas Duncan McGuire, say what you will, he finishes, he scores lots of goals. Did last season, not doing half bad this season. I think, again, we had this discussion with Pete, and I said, you may not rate him technically, and I don't either, but you really don't need to be that technical to be a very good center forward as long as you're good at one thing, scoring goals. That's it.
That's all, yeah.
All you need to do is be competent with your back to goal so you can shovel it off to somebody, a.k.a. Brian McBride. And then when you get in the box, know how to poach or know how to get your head on the goal and, have a pretty nasty outside shot with a swerve, which is what Duncan McGuire has. And there's a reason Blackburn wanted him. Like, it's not a mystery. He's a goal scorer. Is he the most, technical player you'll ever see? No, he's not. No, he's not. Mm-hmm. But my point to Pete was in our discussion with him was, It's not necessary to be that technical as a center forward if you're just got the nose for goal. That's all it counts. Nose for goal. Because there are plenty of players throughout the history of English soccer, first division, who were not technically very gifted.
Yeah.
But were goddamn it great at poaching. Great at poaching. Teddy Sheringham. Not that physically gifted of a player in any way, but just always in the right position to score goals. Wondolowski.
Yep, you beat me too. I was going to go stateside. Yeah. Wando is the prime example of the classic poacher. Definitely wasn't a physical being by any means, and wasn't gonna beat people on the dribble that often. But right place, right time. He found it.
Yeah. Pete yelled at
not for the US.
Pete yelled at me on his show because I stood up for Cowell during his anti-Cade round. Yeah, I won't yell at you. We won't yell at you here, Untouchables. Yeah, I mean, listen, Cowell has positives. There are things about Cowell's game that are impressive enough that Chivas decided to invest in him. So, but now the Chivas fans are all up his asshole. So,
not producing at this point.
But I'm not saying Cowell that it's impossible for him to take another step forward. Like if he can develop that left foot and make the defender think, I got to defend both sides here because his left foot is nasty. Or he's got a great cross that could lead to a goal or a header or whatever in the box. Then he can take the next step. But right now, most of the teams, once they get to know him, which is why he only scored, I believe, twice in his last season in MLS, all season as a regular starter, played almost every game. He scored twice all season. Why? Because everybody in MLS knows what his repertoire is. And once you know what his repertoire is and what he prefers to do, you can shut it down.
Yeah, Kumar goes, there's a reason Cal didn't score in the MLS. Scouting reports exist.
Yes, they do. And now they figured it out in Mexico, too. Like, all the opponents Chivas played this season, as the season went on, when he was on there, they just forced him out left. Forced him left, force him left, force him left, force him left. So, unless you can become super competent with your left foot, that's all that's going to happen now. And Jordan Morris in the old days, he didn't have a left, but you know what he did have? An outside right foot that was pretty competent. So he would go to the left and he'd cross the ball with his right, the outside of his right foot. Now he fixed that later and added a left foot, did Morris, but never a lethal left foot, not a lethal one. And that's a problem. Diego Luna is everything U.S. soccer has never wanted. An inner city kid, young parent, rebel in a program designed for UCLA and Yale kids. There's not a single kid on this that went to college.
So somebody else talks about it down below because somebody else calls him out on it. I think Herc actually calls him out on this too about UCLA or Yale kids on there. And somebody's like, he believes that that Kelvin is using the UCLA and Yale kids to group together the target audience of U.S. soccer as a whole, which is that more or less white, middle class, high class, family type of player that you see coming up through all the youth developments because they can pay for it.
Okay. That's not necessarily true because there are plenty of kids that didn't come up that way that are on this roster. And if we go back to the roster, it is filled with brown and black people.
Yeah.
So I don't like this as the argument. If Kelvin had said, this is an oversight, somebody's not paying attention, that works. But don't make this argument. I don't think Mitrovic gives a shit about whether the kids are from Latin backgrounds, Hispanic backgrounds, African-American backgrounds, white. I don't think he gives a shit. I honestly really don't think he cares. Now, is that going to stop him from picking or not picking a good player he should have picked? Yeah, it could, because he's decision making is his own. And we don't know all the factors that came in for not picking Luna. I think he's wrong. I think Luna should be on this team. But I don't think it has anything to do with UCLA, Yale, how white people are, how not white they are.
Well, I think our chat's got it down. Fumar, in reference to the inner city, I imagine. He goes, Luna is black? And then Jorge Castillo says, Sunnyvale, California, home of Yahoo headquarters, is inner city, which is where Luna's from. Right. So, I mean, and that's not to say you couldn't grow up in a posh area and not be lower income, quote unquote, that sense, which is what he's kind of alluding to here. The creative, lower income, people of color, I think, is what he's kind of alluding. But then he talks about how it's pretty clear why players like Reyna and Pulisic, maybe the concept of what he's trying to allude to here are the very analytic, static type of players compared to the overly creative players that need to blossom in Europe and not necessarily stick it out here in U.S. soccer, which is why Reyna and Pulisic go, which is ironic because I think both of those players would fit the quote-unquote UCLA Yale kids, that middle-class, high-class role clearer than a healthy chunk of them.
Right, hold on. Pulisic's parents are not rich by any sense. Reyna's parents, yes. They're somewhat wealthy. I get it. I don't know if I'm a coach. I am breaking down my options to pick players by the social class in which they grew up in. A, I don't have time to research that. And B, I don't really care. Mm-hmm. I just want the best players so coach, can win, because that makes me look good. That's all I care about in the end. I want to make me look good. I want to win. I don't think a lot of coaches have any time to do that kind of research. All right, I just want the kids who grew up in the bottom third of the social economic bracket.
Yeah.
How do you determine that? I mean, who's going to do that research? I don't know. Do I think that players out on the fields playing soccer on basketball courts or whatever in the inner city are being tracked and looked at? No, I don't. I think that is a problem. I think we could do a whole lot better. There are programs being set up by U.S. Soccer. You would hope that I haven't seen come to fruition yet. There are programs by private companies setting up these new futsal courts in inner cities. But will anybody pay attention at U.S. Soccer? That I don't know. I don't know as far as it's tracking the players and noticing talent, they do in Brazil.
So this real quick before I go into the next point here, Jack does say maybe it has to do more talking about attitudes. And that's what I was kind of going with the analytical, static type of players, whereas a player like Diego is more creative and he doesn't necessarily track back on the defense as hard as you may want him to. Similar, if you would just made the argument about Reyna, that would have made more sense. Those type of players, less to do with the more or less the standard white bread version of how we're playing this. Your wing players have to track back and they have to do this, and they have to do that, and they have to do this, where these players don't necessarily fit that mold. I think maybe what he's kind of alluding to.
Might be so. Might be talking about the attitude of the players, maybe.
Not like the whatever, like the Conrad or Julian Green from back in the day attitude, but like how he approaches the game itself.
Either way, you look at it, that's a kind of a stretch. I don't think Luna is a massive defensive liability.
Yeah. So. The other point I was going to make before I wanted to talk about that real quick was because you were talking about these organizations that are creating like the futsal courts, all these locations and whatnot. They're really tracking inner city youth development as a whole. I think a lot of that all comes down to the money. And until these youth teams that will do the scouting by locating these hidden gems better than, say, like an MLS academy team, until those youth teams could start getting some financial backing from developing the players, which I know MLS has been dragging their feet and trying to stomp out, until they get those solidarity payments or whatever it's called, you're not going to see that internal youth scouting that occurs and the exposure they get from being a part of a youth club in those inner cities. So once the money starts rolling, and then you'll start seeing the scouting really take off.
Also, you can build futsal courts in the inner city, but you can't force the kids to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, are they going to play basketball instead? Are they going to play another sport instead? I mean, you also have to go out and make the sport look like it's something that's achievable for them. That means you have to not only give them the court, but you need coaches and guidance and eyeballs helping them develop at some point. And there's no way U.S. Soccer can afford to make that kind of investment yet. And right now, you are leaving that up to private companies to do, and nonprofits. So you're hoping that happens, but it's so much on a small scale right now. I don't see it making a huge difference. We might get a handful of players because of that in the next 10 years because of the smaller, just the birth of these programs out there right now. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while.
USSF can't even promote Copa America.
No, U.S. Soccer can't even put up their own goddamn interviews with coaches.
Yeah.
That are, I have to go find it on some weird ass YouTube page. The interview with Mitrovic. Why isn't U.S. Soccer why isn't every interview with the head coaches up on U.S. Soccer's YouTube page? Why? Are they chicken shit? Are they lazy?
U.S. Soccer hosting those interviews is a bigger question. Like literally U.S. Soccer interviewing the coach rather than some rando.
Because they're lazy? Are they lazy or are they stupid? Stupid is usually what I go with. Stupid and arrogant at the same time.
I just don't think they necessarily appreciate the social medias at this point. Even their Twitter's shit.
Chicken shit is a good one too. By the way, Reyna is technically Latin. Gio Reyna.
Yeah.
You know, his father's ancestry is Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
It's Latin, last I checked. I'm sure you could check that box off in an interview if you wanted to.
So I know. Obviously, Diego is probably our biggest snub of this window, but it's not like he hasn't been included in previous windows. He's played recently for the U23s, but again, we're getting this close to the Olympics, and you're sitting there going like, "Well, he should be creating that chemistry with all the rest of the players that are on there." Is he really an outlier, possibly looking in? Possibly.
We'll get to that interview after this.
Yeah. So here's Diego talking about his relationship with Mitrovic.
Say your relationship with Coach Mitrovic at the national team level is.
Yeah, I think it's a good relationship. I think it's fair. I think there's been ups and downs. I think there's been miscommunication in some ways and shapes and form, and maybe we're not on the same page at some moments. But that's
cut off there, but yeah.
That's not a good answer. I'm not putting that on him. He's being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there has been this miscommunication, this inability to connect, could that possibly be cultural? It could be. It could. But as far as everything I've ever seen and heard about Diego Luna, he's a great kid. Just a really good kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what they miscommunicated about, but that's not a good thing to hear. because that means that he's probably not going to get called up because there was some miscommunication. When you say miscommunication and you're able to say that as Diego Luna just said it, that means something happened. Something happened. There was some sort of disagreement, right?
Again, could be asking Diego to cover more defensive responsibilities, and Diego may be pushing back, simply saying, "Hey, that's going to kill my offensive game. That's not what I'm built for."
Yeah, in a 4-3-3, everybody but the center forward really has got to play defense. It's just the way it works in our 4-3-3. Everybody got to go back, play defense. Only guy that gets to stand around the midfield line is the center forward. That's it. Everybody else got to go play.
Unless it's Greg's 4-3-3, and then your nine's pushing back into the defense to collect the ball, and your wings are the ones that are pinching in to get the goal scoring opportunities.
A lot of chasing going on there, yes. Yeah. And then this is a clip on Luna.
This is a clip talking about outliers and primarily Luna in this sense, but talking about where they stand moving forward into the Olympics, because obviously this is just a training window. There's friendlies before they announce the Olympic squad going in.
When he says the words, "The door is not closed," or whatever it is, just look into his soul as he says this.
Mm-hmm. And the second thing about Diego, listen, Diego is one of the players that we are considering. He was in consideration for November camp. Unfortunately, he was injured. In March camp, he was with us. Now there are some other guys there that we want to evaluate, and doors are open for every player. And for Diego not being in June camp, like for any other player that is not in June camp, doesn't mean that they're not going to be for the Olympic Games. It's still doors are open for everyone.
But
it's not even the doors are open for Diego. The doors are open for everyone. When you hear that, that is classic language that says he ain't making it.
Well,
he ain't making it.
And again, this is the problem. It's the last window before the Olympic squad would be announced.
Right.
There is definitely, in fact, an issue with recency bias. Again, we talked about it earlier with Guti and Brady not being included at times. But yeah, it's definitely recency bias in that sense that he's going to be looking at Esmir. He's going to be looking at Griffin Yao. And looking at these other players who are going to be competing for Diego Luna and even Brian to that extent at that spot. So again, as long as they perform and as long as they do decent in this window, that's going to be sticking in his mind more so than what Luna did back in March. I mean, I know he has a lot of experience with Luna. Hell, he brought him to the U20s and all that stuff. So it's not like he doesn't know what Luna can do. But again, recency bias is a thing, and it's going to be a big issue.
The key here in the answer of that question, if you study language and communications and understand the way sentences are framed and the way people frame what they are saying, he took the issue of Diego Luna and pushed Luna to the side in that conversation and said, everyone. Okay. What does that say? If you study language, what he's trying to do is push Luna out of the picture and basically say, oh, it's still open for everyone. He didn't say it's still open for Diego. He said it's open for everybody. You include everybody? Then we're not talking about Diego anymore. Okay? That's how language works. And that's very purposeful. That is to prepare us for the idea that, oh, yeah, it's still open for everybody. And Diego's really not that important. That's why I'm shuffling him off to the side in this discussion. Shuffling him off to the side. And I'm bringing all these maybes, other maybes, could be 100 of them, into the picture. Because that's how unimportant Diego Luna is. He's just one of the other cluster of people that could make the team. That's how unimportant he is in our eyes.
Yeah.
That's how language works. that's what he did, okay, he'd been better off saying, listen, let's the way we're building the team right now, we think we have the best set that we've got right now. We're going to see how that works out. Is it possible Diego could still make the team? It's possible. But right now, we're starting off with this crew and we're going to move forward. That would have been honest. What he just did there was a political answer. And that political answer, he didn't know it. The way he framed it is obviously a shunt, a pushing aside of a player and including him in this massive group of other people that could possibly still make the team.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyhow, sorry. I mean, I study language. So for me, you got to listen, right? You got to listen. And when you listen, you hear he's not that important. He's just amongst all the whales in the sound. He's just one of the whales.
Yep.
There are hundreds of those whales. It could be any blue whale. It could be the sperm whale. All right. Language and Media 101 with Derek Ritchie. Sorry, yeah.
Professor Derek Ritchie.
I took a lot of extra courses and I've read a lot of books. Sorry.
So I don't mean to throw back to a previous conversation we had earlier in the show. Without, We'll come back to Luna and Mitrovic's interview here in just a second. But I was just stumbling through Twitter, looking at notifications, and I came across this. So Juventus has offered a 3-year contract for Rabiot for 7.5 mil, which comes out to 2.5 mil a year.
Holy crap.
And they're offering Weston that or less than that.
Less than that, for sure. In fact, there are bench players that get paid salary-wise more than Weston.
Yeah.
Bench players.
Again, it's telling. I mean, and Weston was the leading assister. This whole thing is a bit fucked. I think they're trying to strong arm him a bit there. So.
I love this, Derek. It's been a while since you talk about Napoleon. No, it hasn't been for me. My parents had guests over for Memorial Day, and we talked a little about Napoleon because their guest, one of the guests, knew Napoleon and had read a lot of books about Napoleon. They
knew Napoleon.
They knew a lot about Napoleon. So we were talking about, the old guard. We were talking about the way he put together his armies that was different from everybody else at the time. And then Brian says, and banged a lot of chicks. We know. Well, it's not really that hard, Brian, when you're in a band. Trust me. And you're as good looking as I used to be before I became this, which is not that appealing anymore to the ladies. All right. It's called being old. Oh, Jesus. Tactical manager says RSL and Diego Luna were expecting a call up to the U.S. men's national team Olympics camp. RSL did not block the call up. Mitrovic just let him out of the roster. It was bizarre decision. It's not that bizarre listening to that interview with Luna, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does sound much like Greg. When you have a miscommunication with Greg, like Dwayne Holmes did, Brooks was more of a rage. But if you have, and then you got Miazga, there's so many examples, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to have miscommunications with the coaches at U.S. Soccer. You're not allowed. It's not something that's allowed. So, you're doomed if that's the case. It kind of puts you out of the picture immediately. Threw a chair.
That's the miscommunication, right?
He threw a shoe at him.
Brooks threw a shoe, so if I throw a chair, that's not the same thing, right? It's different.
He's going all Bob Knight on him. Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
All right, so the pitch pod is the one that has the Mitrovic interview.
And when I posted this up on X, it had like 72 views. And it had been up there for 5 hours. I'm like, so no one's watched this. I better post it on X because people are going to wonder what's going on here. We already played a part of this, but there's some other parts. We can go to 7:45 to start. This is the interview with Mitrovic with the press, which U.S. Soccer does not publish and doesn't want anyone to really see. Apparently, this is an exclusive club of people who write for papers and websites, and nobody else is allowed to see it. I know Pete got a pass for a while to be at these pressers, but they never call on him to ask a question. He gave up after a while. He's like, yeah, no, they're never calling on me. So.
Is this an actual presser, or is this just an interview with whatever, maybe a local podcaster?
No, it is official U.S. Soccer Olympic team presser at his house.
What's the matter with people? What's the matter with U.S. Soccer? This is fucked.
I like his artwork in the back. In fact, I like Mitrovic. I like what I've seen so far from him on the pitch and in the locker room. But, he's still a politician, but he's less of one than Greg, I'll say that much. He smiles a lot more. He's genuinely uncomfortable through parts of this interview, and he kind of grins through some of it. This is not what, he's obviously not made for interviews, but he takes it well. He does it like a normal human being that you can have some empathy for, that you don't think is a big piece of fucking turd. Like he seems like a good guy. The whole Luna thing, we don't know. I mean, we heard from Luna. We don't know what happened, but something happened. There's definitely something happened, or else Luna wouldn't have brought up the whole miscommunication thing. And what else did he say after that? Luna said something else. Like there was a miscommunication and something about not, being able to fit into whatever. Anyhow, so here we go. This is not about Luna, but this is at 7:45. We will go for it here.
Real quick before I do, Untouchable says he watched a video of English players arriving at camp, nothing like that from the U.S. The U.S. did post pictures of players arriving on Twitter.
On Twitter,
yeah.
On
and
X.
Then, it's now X. Yeah, good point. Like officially, it's X.
Yep.
And BMR wants you to stop giving Mitrovic a reach around, Derek. Just
Mitrovic a reach around.
quit with the man crush and just move on.
I just like what I saw in the locker room with him. That's all. And I like what I've seen on the field so far.
This was the other bit you're talking about, not being on the same page.
There you go. That's what you can't do with Greg, and apparently you can't do it with Mitrovic. You can't be off the same page. Can't do it, or you're an out. You're gone. That is the same reason Greg still calls up Scally, but we all know he doesn't like Scally. He calls him up, but he didn't like him because they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
Scally said so. There you go. I mean, he's got to call Scally up.
Yeah. Well, who else are you going to call up, right?
Yeah.
Play both Copa America and Olympic Games. We are working on that. Obviously, we know that's not going to be easy to get the players for that. And I think this is going to be very case by case, player by player. We cannot put them like in the same bracket, all the players, because it's very, very, very like we know they all play in different clubs. Different clubs have different approaches, and some players had a different load during the season, and for some players would be easier to play both tournaments than for the others. So that's why I'm saying like it's case by case.
Which means probably not a whole lot of guys playing both.
That goes back to the fact that was the question asking if there were going to be players from both?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering why I even bring it up, but yeah, I mean, from what people, whether it's pundits or whatever are saying, the rumors are is that Miles will play both. But aside from that, who else would or could?
It's going to be really rough to get any team to give you the check mark for both. Rough. That's why I don't believe, despite the report, that we're going to see Miles Robinson playing both.
Yeah.
It's just no way teams are going to sign off on playing both. It's just not happening. It's Pepe, maybe. He's like the only one.
Yeah,
because
that's the one. Although I saw a number of people saying that Vasquez is going to be the third Overage player.
Could be. Could be. Yeah, I could see that too. But yeah, it's going to be difficult to get and Vasquez is going to play in Copa America, so that makes more sense. But playing both, Jesse Marsch went on a rant. Like, he gave one of his players at Leipzig. He agreed to let him do both, and he's like, I totally regretted that. That player came back totally injured, fucked up, tired. Worst mistake I ever made.
No, he came back injured.
But tired, too. Worn out mentally. So
he didn't play at all for like however many, was it 3 months that he was at Leipzig?
Yep.
So
he said it was one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. Danny Olmo. Yeah, I think that was him. All right, 10:08. Change formations, change tactics, they ask?
We have the way we play, our tactics with the Olympic team. And obviously, every player that is on the field, it's kind of different individual. Every player brings something different. But as Olympic team, we have the way we play. And what we are looking also for the players to adjust the way we play. And we will obviously have to adjust to the players because every player brings different qualities. Like I said, different strength. We want to use strength of those players on the field. But nothing that we're going to change something drastically now comparing what we were doing so far in the last 3 camps.
At least he's honest.
Yeah. Well, to this point, why would you change it at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he's honest. Like, if you ask Greg that, he'll say, like,
maybe
sure,
we could try this. I don't know.
We might try a back 3, but, honestly, right now we're just trying to think about the right back position. Like, and keeping the system. He's not honest about it. This guy's just like, listen, there's a way we play. We got a tactical setup. We got a formational setup. That shit ain't changing. The players that we're picking fit into that. And sure, they bring different qualities, but it ain't changing. That's not changing. It's not about picking the best 18 players and then creating a system that works the best for those 18 players. That's what the manager of Real Madrid would do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's been talking about. Ancelotti. That's not what we're doing. We're not doing that. We U.S. soccer, from the big boy team and the big boy girls team all the way down through the whole system, all play the same thing. Yep. Same system, same formations, two are allowed, and that's it.
So yeah, what we're hearing here is Mitrovic is a company man. He's he's not necessarily a yes man, but he's toting that company line.
Sure.
Since that USSF, as you were just saying, wants to implement a countrywide formation and tactic. So that way, these kids who've been part of the U17s, the U20s, even the mid-range ones like the U19s or the 18s and stuff like that, they come up through these youth ranks and then they hit the national team at some point, whether it's a camp cupcake or if they're a good enough player that they were hitting the actual senior team for a meaningful or a friendly, that they already at that point know the system that USSF plays. That's the point. Yeah. So we had this awkward growing phase last cycle, and then as more and more young kids that have been built up through the system are coming through, they'll understand it with a little more ease, and it's not going to be as many growing pains. That's the idea, I guess.
Listen, Ernie marked this out when he took over. We're picking a system, and that's what we're going to do across the board. That's fine. Doesn't allow a lot of flexibility for the coaches, though, does it? Which is one of the reasons we saw Tab Ramos quit.
Mm-hmm.
Because back when Tab Ramos was coaching the youth squads, they told him he had to play the system and, back then, a 4-3-3. Now, at least we've got one other formation open to us because of Hudson and BJ in Greg's absence, showing Greg that a 4-2-3-1 is workable. All right, so now all the teams get 2 formations to pick from, but they got to play the same system. I get it, the same tactics. But yeah, this is a machine we're talking about at this point. All right, at 16 flat.
Okay.
Our players, did you try to reach out to players, and did any players that you reached out to, was it that they weren't committed enough? My guess is this question is about Jonathan Gomez.
Sure.
This is the hidden question. It's like, why didn't Jonathan Gomez? Nobody said that. Why isn't Jonathan Gomez here? But their hinting question is here. Did you talk to players that just weren't yet ready to commit to the United States? And this is his answer.
Yeah, and real quick, BMR says the problem with something like that is that not at every level will have players necessary to play that system.
Yes.
Square pegs into round holes, BMR. Square pegs into round holes.
So when I was a youth player all the way through high school, I played in multiple different formations. I started out in a 4-4-2. I played a 4-3 in a 4-3-3. When I finally got to high school, we were playing a 3-1-3-3. Talk about weird, but it worked. There are all kinds of, but as long as you all know what you're fucking doing, it works. But we're pretty set on what we're doing right now. And the fact that Greg is able to move to a 4-2-3-1 on offense and a 4-3-3 back when he's playing defense, goes back to a 4-3-3. It's still, you're not going to get a whole lot of fanciness out of that beyond that. That's what we're doing. And that's what we do from the big boy team all the way down the line.
Yep.
Some players who have expressed to you that maybe they're not. You obviously don't need to name those players, but are there some players who have expressed no?
I don't want to be political now. I'm telling you, if there is a player that don't do that, he's not going to be with us. So it's like all the players, like we actually have all three camps, great chemistry between the guys. I'm actually very happy the environment that players create and that healthy competition, like I said, every session and pushing them each other on the field, but also enjoying time off the field. And that proudness to represent United States, like we can feel that. It's really great group.
Got it. Appreciate it.
So part of the other part that I didn't play, or we didn't play here, was kind of like, were there players that you called up that didn't give you that 100%? He's like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying shit about that.
Sure.
So there might have been players they wanted to call up who said, I'm not really ready to commit to the U.S. And that's fine. And he's just saying, but everyone we do have on the team is fully committed. Okay, great.
Basically, he basically just said he's happy with who he has and chemistry they developed, and he doesn't touch on that at all. Whether they're 100% or if somebody's declined for whatever reason.
Yep. But I think there have been people that said no. There's no doubt. I think we talked about some of them earlier this show that turned down the call-up. Obed Vargas and Whiting Reed or whatever his name.
Well, he said that they declined, which I don't know. Again, if that means they declined or if
no, they declined. They
Yeah.
declined because they're both dual nads.
Again, though, this brings me back to the whole point of this doesn't cap tie anybody, so why would they even fucking care at that point?
I don't know. Maybe they think they're getting called. They might be getting called up, but well, no, they wouldn't in Vargas's case. You're right.
Nope. No, that's no. Again, that would have been the U20, but again, that's a non-cap tying. I mean, that's a friendly window. It's not. It's not a cap tying. So there's no reason for them to decline it. If anybody's declining, unless they're just hitting on all cylinders at Seattle and stuff like that, and they want to stick it out there instead of going to the U20s, I could see that being the reason. Or maybe my team needs me right now or whatever.
Maybe Obed's being called up during that break to the youth teams in Mexico.
It's possible.
I don't know. It's possible. And those would be friendlies. Those wouldn't cap tie him either. Also at 1940, we get to hear about Neil, why Zendejas' chances of making it, and why Dietz didn't make this.
What was the timestamp again?
1940.
1940.
To have Maxi Dietz, who got injured this camp. Sometimes you get something, sometimes you lose something. But like I said, for Jalen, we're happy to have him with us. And on Zendejas, Zendejas is in consideration. Like I said, there's going to be domino effect based on MNT roster, based on players that we want to bring as an Olympic age group players. And at the very beginning, I got one question. It's difficult process to put 16 plus 2 players. It's exercise, like every day we are doing that exercise, and there is a lot of things that basically we don't control, and then things that we can control, we have to make sure that we're making best decisions. So, and I'm happy for Zedekas the way he finished the season, like you said, and congrats to him. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the big points this year is how complicated this is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got to be on the phone so much, trying to talk with this coach and that coach on this team and that coach on that. Who's available? Who are you? Who can you really get? This is not going to be an easy team to piece together, just because of the complications of who's going to get released. This is not a FIFA sanctioned tournament. You got to get everybody's approval. And that's kind of his point there. So, and then near the last one, this is just an example of a press guy giving 2 bad questions in a row. 2105. This guy sounds way smarter than Greg. Yeah. Yep.
Hey,
More.
Coach, just wanted to get your thoughts on Busio and how instrumental he's been to the team, and just what are your thoughts of Kansas City, and have you been to Kansas City before, and what is your experience with the city?
Well, he's a local reporter.
Yes, it's so bad. What about
it's all Kansas City, sporting Kansas City topics there. Hey, how's Busio been instrumental? Well, he hasn't really been called up to the U23s at all.
Yeah, I love Busio. He's got the big cock. I love sucking it. Sporting Kansas City. I love your whorehouses. I go visit often when I can. The Kansas City whole area region is great. I like going to the strip bars. You know, it's wonderful. I like when I can sneak off into an alley in downtown Kansas City and jerk off onto the walls. I think that is great artwork. It should be framed. What do you expect him to say? Oh, Busio's crap. And Kansas City, your city sucks. What else? What do you think he's going to say? What fucking ridiculous.
Well, this is the St. Louis talk issue when the U.S. men's national team was there.
Yes,
dressing in that stadium. They're like, have you ever been to St. Louis? And what do you think of it? What's your favorite dive bar?
Greg, what do you think of St. Louis? Have you got a blowjob yet since you've arrived? I hear the anal sex is great in our city, but I want to know if you've experienced it personally. And I just have to make sure that you know that, in fact, one of the biggest porn stars ever, Ron Jeremy, lives here, and he wanted to meet you personally. And if you've got some time, he's one of our big celebrities here.
They allow conjugal visits, Greg. Come on.
Have you met him yet? And what do you think of Ron Jeremy? And what do you think about the way the grass is cut on the field here at St. Louis? Is it high enough for you or low enough for you? Like what level? How many inches would you prefer? God, this is so stupid, dude. Like, don't ask these mindless, stupid questions, dude. Oh, my God. Oh, we haven't talked about it, but yes, it's a 0-0 tie today for Venezia. So they're going into game 2 at home at 0-0. Venezia should win against, what is the name of the team? Cremonese? Cremonese? They should win that at home and be promoted. This will be exciting for Busio and Tessman. This will be very exciting if they're able to pull this off. And they should. They're playing at home.
B. Margus goes, that's something Italian.
Cremonese? Tell me if I'm getting that close.
Here, it's right here. Cremonese. It's like
Cremonense?
Well, and actually, I think this is the phonetic spelling of it.
Cream Pinese? Cream Pinese? Oh, God. Cream pie.
Derek, did you catch the conference games?
I didn't. No. I had to run some errands. Then I came home and I watched some MLS games. I watched 3 of them in a row. The 7 o'clock. Then there was another one at 8:30. So I didn't finish the first one. But then I watched LA Galaxy, and I watched a lot of MLS I didn't watch that. I can go back and watch it. I have it saved, but I know Olympiacos won.
Jack's got a different pronunciation, so I'm not sure now.
Come in the say. Okay. All right. A lot of jokers out there right now. And there's one more, Brent.
Back and easy. You guys are all over the board now.
One more. 2240. He answers a question about overage players.
Your time. You mentioned earlier that central defence was a position you were eager to strengthen, bringing in Walter Zimmerman. Do you have any positions or roles in mind for the remaining 2 spots?
Yeah, I think we will have more clarity in next couple of weeks about that. So it's obviously like every camp we evaluate, every week we evaluate, every day we evaluate, and we believe that we can strengthen our team, and especially with Walker. That's going to be a great addition. And where we are going to go with the next 2 spots, definitely, I think after this camp, we will have more clarity on that.
So basically, it's really complicated. We have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
So what do you say?
We have ideas of players, but we need to figure out what we need first off.
Yeah.
I think it'd been funny if he did like a pull the Ted Lasso, and they're like, "What are your concerns with the overage players?" And he'd be like, I'm actually concerned more about the underage players being on the team.
I mean, I think we will eventually. There will be 3. Everybody brings 3. But anybody thinking Pulisic's going or Reyna's going, no, it's not happening. So if the coverage of the Olympics is really shitty, I will get the standard 6 or 7 texts from my friends and bandmates, ex-bandmates, even my mom, who probably will be like, and my brother, hey, it's the Olympics. Where's Pulisic? Where's McKennie? Oh, it's the Olympics. Then I'll have to explain it to like 8 people because the coverage won't explain it. The people covering it won't explain it. It'll be very frustrating. LA Galaxy Academy star. And Wonder Kid, by the way, Tom. You forgot to add that, buddy. Matisse Albert, if he's French. Albert, if he's American. Scored both goals for the United States U16 team in a 2-2 draw with Argentina. Albert just turned 15. He's a huge talent, already growing hair on his balls. One scout told me he's Kevin Sullivan without the hype.
That's why he's not a wonder kid yet.
But with hair on his nuts. Already at this age. Can you believe it, Brett? San Diego's going to be all over this kid.
San Diego.
As they expand. Oh, my God. Listen, okay. You want to put out news about U16 players. Totally fine with it. Can we please stop using the word star and wonder kid? And what other bullshit you come up with to describe a player who is 15 years old? He's not a star. He's not Beckerman. He's not even Beckerman. All right. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not even reached that levels. He's not Messi. He's not Ronaldo. He's not a star. Okay? He's not a wonder kid. There's no such thing. Wonder kids fade away. They get injuries. They disappear. They have attitude problems. They fade away. Sebastian Soto. Wonder kids are not a thing. Quit calling them wonder kids. Quit calling them stars until they are stars. When they're stars, call them stars. When they reach Landon Donovan quality, call them stars. Otherwise, just shut up. Quit labeling kids before they barely have hair on their nutsacks. Let them be. You can report it. If you want to report it, report it. don't label them stuff because we don't know what's going to happen to them. We don't know where they're going. I hate having to do this and say this all the time, but it's so annoying. It's so annoying. All right, sorry.
Finish out the show. I just found a 46-second video of Turner talking about Gio's experience at Forest, and then we'll call it a night.
Yes, this is great though.
Yeah, I'd say with Gio, no experience is a bad experience. You know, he came to training every single day with a good attitude, and I think you guys saw that.
No, I've been told he has a bad attitude.
Oh, no, he's definitely got this horrible attitude. He's a horrible kid. Like, you know, when he doesn't get to play, he takes his shoe off and throws it at the coach. He whips his cock out and pisses all over the lockers. He's just a horrible kid, bad attitude, doesn't show up, doesn't even try at practice, And then when he gets in the individual meetings with the manager, he yells and screams at him. He punches them. That he has to be physically restrained. Give me break.
You know, after he came in January, maybe it wasn't going the best in the beginning for him at Forest, and then he showed up and got player of the tournament at Nations League. So he's working really hard. He is in the form that we all expect him to be in. He brings a quality to training every time he steps out there, and he's really matured a lot. And I've watched him grow up a little bit and be on his own, a new experience away from sort of his boyhood club as well, make connections with new guys. And it's been really fun to see him grow, you know, on the pitch and off the pitch and get that Premier League experience as well under his belt.
All right. Well, it's a little Premier League experience. It's not going to hurt. It's not what we all thought or were hoping for.
Yeah.
He didn't get injured, Tat. So there's that, right?
Nope.
Didn't get injured. Injury prone. Nope, not.
Chris Richards does not want to be there. He looked tired, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked like he just got off the plane and he's like, oh, God, I just want to go to my hotel room, jerk off, and go to bed.
5 hours. They had me on economy. This was bullshit.
All right, folks, thank you for showing up. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share it with your grandma if your grandma's still around. If you don't have a grandma, share it with an aunt, an uncle, your brother, your sister. Your stepsister would love this show, especially if you're getting it on, you know?
I thought you were going to say especially Brett.
You could set aside some special time together on the couch to pop us on the TV, put on YouTube, watch the show live. You know, you could do all of that together. Not if you're 35 and you're the mom and you're fucking your stepson.
Yeah, she waited 2 years after being legal to do it. Well,
was it?
He was 20.
But yeah, they were fucking since he was 16. Let's be honest. Let's be really, really honest. So anyhow, we love you all. Thank you for all your comments, your questions, your thoughts. We do appreciate it. Trust me, we do. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of doing this show? And we will be back on Monday, right?
Monday.
No holidays on Monday. So we'll be back on a normal time, normal hour. We'll see if we can bring a guest. If not, we're just going to kick it like we always kick it. And we'll see you soon. Good night.
That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
It's Muppets.